Hey all, J-Man here. I just wanted to tell you about beardedshirts.com. It's a great place to get a lot of cool superhero shirts and other merchandise. You can scroll, they've always got sales on. As you can see, they've got these really cool print all over shirts, which I really love. That's Eddie, the founder of the site. And if you're looking for stuff, all you got to do is you click on the search here and you can type in all over, and that's going to show you the all over prints, which are really, really cool. Look at that. You got Legion of Superheroes, you got Brave and the Bold, you got JSA, you got Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, all kinds of stuff. So check out beardedshirts.com. Hey folks, J-Man here. All right, today we're going to be talking about Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze, 1975 movie. Really looking forward to talking about this one. Before we do, let's tell you what's coming up though. Tomorrow, the second last episode of the Legion live stream, episode number 82. 82 weeks of the Legion live stream. It's coming close to an end here. So second last episode is tomorrow. Looking forward to talking about this tomorrow. And next Friday, this Friday, we're going to be doing Transformers Super God Master Force. We're coming back to do this. We've got 2 more episodes left of the Super God Master Force live stream. We're going to end off this cartoon. 2 of the best episodes of any Transformers thing are going to be talked about next Friday because basically Power Master Optimus Prime or God Ginray teams up with not Fortress Maximus, but he's a retool of Fortress Maximus called Grand Maximus. They team up to fight not Scorponok, but a reissue Scorponok called Black Zarek, who's the damn best. And he teams up with Overlord, which I had to figure for Overlord, and then I sold it because I'm a complete moron and I deserve to be beat up for selling that. I feel so bad about selling that figure because it was so awesome. He's so awesome in this show. So that's on Friday. 1 week from today, oh my goodness, 40 years ago, He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword came out. We're going to talk about it 1 week from today, same time. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm so emotional about just even thinking that it's been 40 years. It's just crazy to me. I love everything in this movie, the music and all that. So that's going to be next Sunday. Now, in between, Wednesday, I'm going to be on the Action Elite, and we're going to be talking about 30. It was 40, so that was 40 years for that one. 30 years for GoldenEye, which seems insane. Oh my God. So we're going to talk about GoldenEye on Wednesday. Now that's going to be on the Action Elite. All right, let's thank the Super Friends. These are the channel members. So we thank them on every stream for their continuing memberships and support. So of course, Dan, Sean, Stephen, Brennan, Mark D, RR, Philip Story, S182, Digger Jim, Quagnar, Legion of Comics, and Just Joe. And we always thank Clobberin Times. Clobberin Times was a big time Doc Savage fan. I don't know if he liked this movie. I think he may have liked it just for kind of like, a bit of the cheese factor of it, but I don't know. He loved Flash Gordon. So I don't know if he loved this one, but he loves Doc Savage, and we always shout him out for every stream. So there you go. All right, let's bring in. We got a packed house today to talk about Doc Savage. So let's start bringing everybody in.
Hey, Clubby liked it. From what I recall, he would sing the song.
Okay.
But he acknowledged that it had issues. That's what he
said. It did have 1 or 2 issues here and there, but that's fine. We're going to talk about it in depth. Yeah. All right, let's bring in Steven. Hey.
Heidi ho.
Heidi ho. No, not that movie. All right. I'm never talking about that movie. How do you like that? All right. Okay. So who do we got here? We've got, I'm going to do, let's do Mr. Fancy Pants.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
That's Charlie today.
Who's a hoe? I don't know no hoes. What's up?
And we'll bring in. Okay, what else? I'm running. I don't have enough videos for 6 people. I'll bring in. We might have to do. Oh, how about this for Ross?
I can't wait any longer.
I want that Neil Breen one to be my intro.
But can't wait any longer.
Bad movie Neil Breen, but he's throwing a book at a computer,
which is not on and not plugged in. So, and I can literally decipher those movies. I usually save my favorite movie, the most epic part in my favorite movie. I always save that for like the special guest. So let's use that. Hey, Scott.
Hi, glad to be back.
Glad to have you, man. I love. Oh man, that when those guys come out, Rexor and Thorgrim, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's fucking Conan," and then they're like, "We're dead." It's like it's over. It's like he's like, I was like, I still get goosebumps. I've seen that movie 400 times. I still get excited. It's like you're like, oh man. It's like nice shirt, Sean. Yes, that is a nice shirt.
Thanks, man.
Where did you get those fine new items?
Well, I'll tell you. I got it from Bearded Shirts.
There, that's it. The link is in all my videos. Tell them I sent you. They're the channel sponsor. Charlie, I've got an acknowledgement on your shirt, so we're sending you one.
Awesome.
I got 2 Micronaut shirts and a ROM shirt from Bearded. So
nice.
Oh, I gotta get those.
Yeah, they don't have any Doc Savage. I was looking. I was like, can I get? Yeah. I don't have any Doc Savage shirts or anything, so I'm just wearing Superboy. I figure Superboy and Doc Savage have similar codes of moral, like moral codes or whatever, right? They're both good.
Yeah. And this has the word
they have a Fortress of Solitude. Their name is
a Fortress of Solitude. Yeah. You're correct. Their name is Clark.
Yeah. No.
Yep. All right.
Scott,
so is it
paperback show?
Sorry?
How was the paperback show, Scott?
I missed it. I was sick. I had a bad head cold. It's the
that sucks.
The second paperback show in like 35 years I've missed, and the first time I've ever missed a signing appearance.
Wow.
So yeah, I was bummed. There's always great stuff there. They have like usually attendance is over 1,000 now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
that's pretty damn good for a trade show.
And the average age of the attendees is like 80 years old, right?
Well, young people don't collect that kind of stuff, so that's a shame.
Sometimes, like when Sean and I go to, like, Sean went to the old paper show, book and paper show today. Video is up on Sean's channel, so make sure you guys are subscribed and you check that video out. I watched it like instantaneously because I was waiting because I couldn't go today for whatever reasons. I couldn't go, which sucks because I packed all your shit up, Sean. My bag was so heavy with all the crap I have to give you because we haven't met each other now in like months and months. I was like, I've got all this stuff to give Sean. I'm like, oh my god. And so we're just gonna have to wait till April for the comic show, but that's a good show. But was there young people there?
There were so many people at that one too. It's mostly older people, but you'll see like 3 or 4 either couples or like young women buying some of this stuff. So
that's cool.
I think I saw that Scott's been sharing this across all the cool pulp groups on Facebook, and I think it's mostly going to be viewed by people much older than us. The stream will be viewed by people much older than us.
I have all the analytics.
Laptops. That's the people. They're throwing their books at laptops.
Yeah, usually. So it depends what's going on. Like when Sean and I do our comic book streams, which are on the Mondays and the Fridays, it's like you can't keep up. Like the chat is like I get about 500 chats. Like everything's tracked on YouTube, so it's like while we're talking, it's like constant, like chatting, and to the point where people are now actually doing super chats to get their comment through because it's like you can't read everybody's comments. These streams depends. Technically, later on, we'll get the views. Like we did the Conan Jason Momoa, that's got 10,000 views. The Conan Jason Momoa one. So a lot of people, it's like Sunday night. This is my relaxed stream where I don't have to and I'll let the views catch up later that people can come back and watch and see what our thoughts are on this. Because Doc Savage, I mean, Doc Savage himself. Plus, this is the movie. I don't know if how many people even really know. Like, this movie is only on Warner Archive, which I have got a DVD of the Warner Archive version. I got a Blu-ray though.
Blu-ray now. Yeah.
There's a Blu-ray now. Warner Archive. Yep.
It's not going to look better on Blu-ray.
Is it? Sorry, is it better or not better?
No, I mean there's nothing about it that's going to look better with higher clarity. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, is it okay? So I've been saying Ron Ely. Is it Ely or Eli?
Ely.
Ely.
You know when I first heard Ely was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where in the very beginning, oh gosh, what's his name? Godfather. Geez, why am I blank? Al Pacino. Al Pacino is talking to Leo DiCaprio about his current career. He's like, well, I've been doing a lot of episodic television. He's like, I did a couple of Ron Ely episodes of Tarzan. I was like, hey, what the heck? And I know Tarantino was the right way to say it. So I was like, so I was like, oh, I've been saying this wrong.
So he used to host a game show called Make Me Laugh. And the announcer would always go, Ron Ely.
Okay, there you go. Well, he is just like the damn best, and we can do like a Tarzan versus Clark Savage, I guess. But who would win out of those two? I don't know. Okay, so I brought out a couple of things. I'll show you guys before we, and then I don't know if other people have stuff. I'm going to go through it really super duper mega quickly because I want to show you a few things that maybe you haven't seen. This is all the generic stuff. So this is the pulps, right?
Sure.
These are the reprinted pulps. You get two stories per, and they're not in any order, which we've discovered. I don't have very many, but the cool thing is that they use the covers, and you could see Doc Savage, like Ron Ely, looks pretty damn good if you're looking at this. Doc Savage, not the non.
Apparently, Chuck Connors was going to play Doc Savage at some point. He would have looked.
Chuck Connors would have been good.
Yeah,
these are comics now. We're into the DC. This is DC. Mm-hmm. I do have issue 2.
Oh, nice.
But I wanted to show you. So this is the thing I was talking about to some of you. I talked to you guys about some of this stuff. This was where they did this thing called First Wave. Hey, Classic Comics, how's it going, dude?
Yeah.
So it's called First Wave, and what it is there's no powers. So it's the Spirit, Batman, and Doc Savage all teaming up, and I've got the full run of it. And it's DC's universe, but nobody has any powers. So Doc Savage is the leader of this team. This is a couple of specials, which has Batman and Spirit. And I think other characters eventually start to appear. See, Batman's got his firearm. If you remember, for a short time, he did have the firearm because Batman is kind of like your pulp hero. So from First Wave, they also did, besides the team, they did a Doc Savage series with there's the Fab Five right behind him. And they did his own series for a bit. And I believe I have all of those. Now, this is the Widow's Peak Doc Savage, right? That, kind of people know. And once... Yeah, so it's like I'm almost done, but I believe this might be the entire run. There's the snake. Look at that.
Hey,
that's classic, right? Like that's your classic look of them right there.
Do you have the Marvel magazines, the Doc Savage ones that have a Ron Ely?
I've got them. I'll show them off.
We can show. Yeah, this is it. You're about to see the end of. This is everything I have. Like that's it. We got 2 more, and then we're done.
I only have 2 show and tells myself,
so this one, and then issue 17. I don't know if that was the finale, but there you go. That is it. That is the entirety and the movie, and I'll show you my Doc Savage statue, which I'll get in a little bit. It's huge. It's the big statue, and it's the Widow's Peak Doc Savage. So I think DC released it, possibly in time for this, maybe. Yeah. So, Sean, did you want to show a couple of, if you have anything?
Sure. I've got I've got almost all the magazines. I think I'm missing the last one. So I've got the first issue, of course, was the Ron Ely.
1 second, I'll make you full screen.
Yeah. Ron Ely cover with the movie exclusive George Pal Speaks tries to explain himself. I don't know. Doc Savage 2. These covers are great. I think it's
Yeah.
who is it? Ron Barr? Was that the guy's name that did these covers?
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the
Great
Widow's
cover,
Peak
man.
Doc Savage.
Yep.
Love
There you go.
it. Yeah.
I won't be able to hear you for a
Five.
sec, Sean.
Pardon? Oh,
He won't be able to.
you
He won't be able to
hear
hear you for a second. You're fine.
All right. Issue 6.
Good stuff.
Issue 7, he's fighting a bunch of bugs and whatnot. These were all Doug Mensch stories. From their Curtis imprint, it's basically Marvel.
I heard he was a mess.
When DC got the rights, they put out this big showcase, which is
Yes.
basically the magazine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I bought this
Awesome.
thinking, oh, new Doc Savage stories. It's like, no, it's the magazine reprinted in this big form. So it's cool because these were always black and white, but the magazine was too, so it fit.
That is neat. I passed on. I should have got that. Oh, I've got one of those books too. I forgot.
I only have 3 of these. This is the Fantastic Island. This is number 14. That's how they're numbering them. This is the Monsters. This one has Patricia Savage in it, who I'm pretty sure is Canadian. I'm because her uncle's Canadian. No, like the uncle. She's the cousin of Doc Savage. Anyway,
Right, she's the cousin.
Devil on the Moon. Yeah.
Oh,
There
I think
you go.
number 1 of that.
Pardon?
I think I have number 1 of those.
Oh yeah.
It's in the next. I forgot I had that. See again. Okay, and I'll show you. So here's a
I'll
statue.
say this though, like the thing, I have 3. I find these very hard to find, and I find anything Doc Savage hard to find. I just went to a giant show and I saw no
nothing.
Doc Savage anything. Like there's one book that talked about Doc Savage, but I didn't see any paperbacks. I don't understand. I saw a lot of shadow stuff and and all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
cool.
I like that.
When he has like tattered shirts is great.
Yeah.
It seems classic to me.
Yeah, that's the one where I went to the comic shop and the guy knew I liked Doc Savage. He's like, "Oh, I got this statue for free or something like that," and he's like, "I'll just sell it to you for whatever you got." And I was like, "How about?" I can't remember what it was. It's like I had like $80. I was like, "How about $80?" Like, sure. It's like hundreds of dollars.
Wow.
So there you go. Okay. Anybody else want to show anything?
Yeah, I got 2 things.
All
I
right.
hope the background doesn't get all screwy on me.
It's a bit weird.
Let me just turn it off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this book is called Chinatown Death Cloud Peril. And
Good.
there we go. Back to the class.
All right. There you go.
So this book is called Chinatown Death Cloud Peril.
Mhm.
And this is a signed edition that I picked up at work.
Oh,
And the story is Lester Dent and Walter Gibson team up to find out about the murder of H.P. Lovecraft. And it's basically like world's finest of pulp writers. So Lester Dent is played as kind of like this, Boy Scout cowboy, and Walter Gibson's like this kind of weird magician fellow. And L. Ron Hubbard's like the annoying teenage sidekick. He's the comedy relief who literally falls into a ditch in one scene. And then all these other pulp writers show up like as guest stars, like Robert Silverberg drives a boat when they're having a speedboat chase, and Chester Himes shows up on a train for a scene. You kind of have to know who they are. And then the more I found out about the pulp writers, the more I was like, oh, wow, that was like a great Easter egg. But it's a lot of fun. And then they're like caught in the middle of an actual, what if it was a real pulp story? So there's a death cloud going on in Chinatown. That part of it isn't as well done as all the Easter eggs and pulp writer stuff in it. But the main thing is there's this one scene where they're talking about how like Lester Dent's wife is disappointed that they've been married and they can't or won't have kids. And so Lester Dent's talking to some young boy in front of her, and the boy recites the Doc Savage oath like it was.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she loses her shit because it was like he's got millions of boys. He doesn't need one of his own. It's a great scene. And then
Nice.
the other one, you guys are going to be pissed off when you see this one.
What's that? Arch enemy of evil.
Oh, the
It's
sequel.
the screenplay.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Screenplay to the sequel.
I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's really disappointing. So it's almost a blessing that one never got made. So
Well,
but
you never tell
did
with
anyone
those
have-
scripts because they change, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this one has. I don't know how. I forgot where I got this from, but it's got George Pal's name like handwritten on it. So I think somebody associated with it had it at one point, and it looks very typewritten on an old timey typewriter, like from the 70s.
Right.
But does anybody have like the Millennium comics or like those in between comics between when Marvel and DC had
Hey,
it,
Phil.
or the Dynamite comics?
I have a lot of that stuff. I don't have it. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it for show and tell, but I bought them and read them as they came out, and probably have not revisited most of that stuff.
Yeah, the Millennium.
Scott, you didn't bring all 200 of the original Paul. We're gonna just see. I was planning on doing nothing and have you go through all 200 plus of the original pulps, show them all, and tell us what happened in each one. That was the stream.
You have the paperbacks too, right?
Lord, I thought we were going to talk about Ron Eli.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I do have an autographed picture of Ron Ely because I did meet him at a con.
Oh, that's cool.
I asked a friend of mine who had met him like he met him like earlier on that show, and I said, "Did you get to meet Ron Ely yet?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "What is he?" He goes, "He's still a beautiful man." And he was like in his 70s or something when I met him, and there's not. I mean, I'm not like a super tall person, but there's very few people I look up to, and he's like towering over me, and he's like looks like a 72-year-old freaking Doc Savage, and I'm like,
Nice.
I'm gonna be like, sign this picture. And I want the whole motto, I want the whole thing written out. The whole thing written out. It's like it continues. It's like he puts like an arrow, and then you have to flip the autograph picture over, and it continues on the back or whatever.
In person. Well, he wouldn't take my cash either. He had like a guy off to the side who
They never take your.
Yeah, a lot of them do that.
But
They all do that,
he was like Doc Savage in person. Like he wasn't even acting in the movie. It was like that's just how he is.
Right.
So I was like, damn, when they say don't meet your heroes, it's like, well, Ron Ely is one of the exceptions,
Right.
Yeah.
But so the other thing, like, Scott, do you have the Doc Caliban books?
Doc Caliban. That was Philip Jose Farmer. Yes.
Yeah,
Read those when I was young. Yeah.
Yeah. So did they have an effect on you? Because I understand they were pretty sexy. They were like Playboy Press books or something, right?
Well, sexy. It depends on what you're into. They were
Yeah.
perverse might be the word some people would use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I read them because they were, and he did his whole takeoff on Lord Grandith, which was supposed to be Lord Greystoke. I read them when I was young. Haven't really had a desire to revisit them. I just read the original, the Edgar Rice Burroughs and the Lester Dent, and now Will Murray, who writes as Lester Dent. I think he does a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Lynn Carter did pastiches about Doc Savage too. Lord Zarkon, I think it was, and Zarkon was sort of, and again, I have not read them, but from what I understand, he was an alien or an outer space man who had these powers and stuff, but he played a Doc Savage role, and I have all those. I've got far more books than I will probably ever read, but yeah, I really enjoyed the original Doc Savages. Once they got, as the run continued, the magazine changed. He got less fantastic. He got more down to earth, and it became Doc Savage Science Magazine, or what, a Science Detective, and
it was like a digest, right?
Right. Became a digest size. I really liked the original pulpy stuff. I liked the Lost Race Tales, and what was interesting was it was a hero pulp, so it was about Doc Savage. It wasn't a set genre. You could have one story about gangsters and gangland stuff, and the next one he goes off to an island and finds dinosaurs, or a lost civilization. And so it really, Lester Dent was really able to write in a lot of different genres.
Right.
He's kind of, yeah, he's a very versatile, like Doc Savage is a versatile character. And that's sort of like, it's like the only other guy, like Batman is like that, right? If he's fighting something weird, it's okay. If he's fighting street level guys, it's okay, right? It's something like Doc Savage, yeah, it feels like if there's aliens, yeah, he could handle it. If there's monsters, he could fight zombies if he needed to. He could fight, but he could also take care of like just people, you know, like in the streets, or if there was like a killer out there or something. Like I feel like he's kind of neat that way. Like all the other guys usually stick to something, you know, like they're either street level like guys or they're fantastical guys or whatever. But yeah, Doc Savage feels like he could fight anybody. Did you did I was reading a little bit about this. Did the Fab Five start to get slowly like kind of written out of it a little bit as it went on? And it was more like
he really relied on Monk and Ham. Yeah, I mean the stories where all five of them were there, and it may have just been a little shorthand, been a little easier. The stories were shorter, so if you have a cast of 6 plus the female cousin, that gets to be kind of an unwieldy cast in a short story. You might want to capitulate or tell viewers who haven't seen this or read this who he is. Doc Savage was, is a pulp character who appeared in the 30s, and the character was supposedly his father had untold wealth, which, it gets into the saga where that came from. But he raised his son by scientific principles to be the smartest and the strongest and the most accomplished man in history. He had scientists training this kid from childhood, and so he's an actual medical
man is the smartest man in the world. I heard that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, but so and he's like a superhero. I mean, he's not a superhero. He doesn't have powers. He's a human being functioning at theoretical maximum capacity. That is, just beyond what any of us could achieve.
Right. I like that. Yeah. Now he's got now in the movie they use bulletproof or something, or I don't know.
I had that question tonight.
So we're gonna okay. So we'll go through the movie in a second. Charlie, I can't remember. Is this your first introduction like to Doc Savage at all?
So I'm gonna say yes, but I have a giant asterisk next to it. So if you want to talk about first histories with the movie, we can, but I don't want to detract from what we're talking about.
Okay.
Now.
So I'm going to let Scott go first, but let's read. I do like I do like his code, and not as a cheesy thing. I actually think it's awesome. They say it in the movie, so I don't know how accurate it is to like what was, I don't know if it's literally exactly that because I turns out I don't have some of the stories that I thought I had because they reprinted them all in all weird ways. But it says, let us strive every moment of our lives to make ourselves better and better to the best of our ability so that all may profit by it. Let us think of the right and lend our assistance to all who may need it with no regard for anything but justice. Let us take what comes with a smile without loss of courage. Let us be considerate of our country, our fellow citizens, and our associates in everything we say and do. Let us do right to all and wrong no man. So he definitely won't have a YouTube channel. That's for that's for sure. No, he won't be on Twitter. He won't be on any other stuff.
You didn't see me, but I was standing the whole time you were saying
that. There's a twinkle in my eye at the end. All right. Well, so I would assume Scott has the most knowledge on this character and this movie. I knew who the character was just because I know about these kinds of characters. I had a few of these reprint pulps here and there, whatever. If I had some of the comics as we talked about. So I knew who the character was. I didn't know everything, right? It's like I don't remember all the Fab Five, but I think I know all 5 of them. But I kind of know a little bit. And I saw the movie. I thought this movie's awesome because I like these kinds of movies. It's fun when he does the code. I was like, yeah, this is the damn best. And each guy's there, and they're and they're is he the couple of guys I can't remember who it was oh we can't make it Ham's oh I've got this big trial coming up and you're yeah right and then he shows up and they're there. I was yeah they're there and it's so that's so cool. It's the same reason I like Flash Gordon. I like these where the hero is just the hero. He can do no wrong. You immediately like him, but he's smart in the movie too. Obviously he looks cool. He looks exactly like what I would have thought. Doc Savage would be. You're like, shit, this is exactly like Doc Savage, like perfect. Hey, Phantom Outside, how's it going, dude?
And he plays that role like that is a tough role to play because just if he played it a little goofy, it would have gone off the rails. If he played it serious, it would be like, what is this? He was just like having a great time and played it right down the middle.
Yeah. All right. So Scott, what was your first experience with Doc Savage, the character, and then with this movie?
Probably my first experience was seeing this trailer on television in 1975 or whenever. As a child, liked it, wanted to go see it, didn't see it in the theaters. And then I saw it when it was broadcast on network TV in the US, which would have been a few years later. Now, to discover the character, the books, I started reading Edgar Rice Burroughs when I was 9, almost 10. Actually, April marks my 50th anniversary of discovering Edgar Rice Burroughs and reading the novels. The Doc Savage novels were all in a row beneath the Tarzan novels. So I would look at them and then I'd buy a Tarzan. And once I bought all the Tarzan and Mars and made my way through Burroughs, that's when I started reading Doc Savage. So I would say around age 11, probably around the time I saw the movie. So I didn't have this big disconnect of, this movie, this isn't the guy from the books. As a kid, I liked it. I loved it. The green snake things, it was in the sweet spot for a kid. And then, as you discover the novels and you discover the departures they took, it's like, well, missed opportunity. That stuff happened in the editing room as Doc Ross there was talking. Ron Ely played it straight. When they were filming this movie, it wasn't silly or whatever. A lot of that was done after the fact. And Ron Ely talks about it. I think there's an interview out there where he went to a screening and he was enraged. He was like, what have you done to my movie? With the sort of there's some comedy that falls flat for an adult. I mean, like I said, kids I think will love this movie, young people, and it's made for them. But I loved it as a kid. I discovered the books. I dove into the books in the middle. The Flying Goblin was my first one because they were reprinting them out of order from the pulps, but they were sequentially numbered. So Flying Goblin is number 90. They started printing them in the early 60s. So by the time I discovered it, they were up to 90. And that opens with, as Doc Ross said, I'll keep using the name Doc Ross until that kind of becomes your
well, there's another Steve here, so I just want to be whatever Ross. So
yeah, okay. We'll just call you Doc. We'll start that today. No, but anyway,
today that's cool.
Yeah, it jumps in the middle with Monk and Ham fighting, and it's sort of based on the legend of Spooky Hollow, and so I enjoyed it. But it coming into the middle, I was a little confused about who these characters were, and I had to kind of go back and read The Man of Bronze, the original one, and so I kind of jumped around with the Doc Savage novels because, as I said, they were printed out of order, and they reprinted, I think, the first 20. So you could get your hand, even though they were up to number 90, and a bunch of those in between from 20 to number 80 were by then sold out. They weren't on the newsstands anymore, but you could get the first 20. They kept them in print. So that was good because the Bantam's strategy was we want to print the best of the stories. So they were sort of cherry picking what they thought were not just the best, but the strongest for presentation via paperback. So the ones that kind of stood alone.
Oh, Scott, you're frozen. Oh, you're back. I think you're back.
Is this
you're back.
Frozen?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So they were, printing the strongest, best ones first. And, as it went on, the ones that maybe weren't as solid a story or felt because they started printing doubles. They started printing 2 novels per book. And then they went to an omnibus with 5 stories as the stories got shorter. So, Doc Savage has always been my second favorite passion next to Edgar Rice Burroughs and his characters. He's a great role model for a young man. As I said, he's this guy who trains his mind to its maximum potential, but he also trains his body. He does all these Charles Atlas exercises, and he's super strong. And, whenever there's a fight, he's always just whipping around, knocking guys out with one punch. And so, it's a nice aspirational fantasy for young men.
Okay, so who? So this is crazy that Ron Ely played both. Like you're basically your two favorite characters. So who would win, Tarzan or like Tarzan versus Doc Savage? I don't have a poll up. The poll up right now is what'd you rate this movie? But if I put the poll Tarzan versus everyone's gonna pick Tarzan because they know him. But can Doc Savage defeat Tarzan? I think he might be able to. I'm not sure. What do you think?
It would depend. In just a raw bear fight, probably not, because Tarzan's a savage. He grew up wrestling gorillas. He fought much bigger, stronger foes than Doc Savage. Doc, of course, knows every martial art, and if he could get Tarzan in a certain hold, if he could get him in and put a nerve pinch on him. They use a nerve pinch sometimes in the novels to paralyze his foes. He paralyzes them, and then his assistants come by after and pick up the guy who's been paralyzed and kind of cart him off. So Doc Savage has the ultimate scientific approach to fighting. He knows everything in that regard. So that would be his only opportunity to stay even in the ballpark with Tarzan, because it's as far as pure savagery and ferocity, Tarzan. Someone the other day said who would win, Tarzan or the Phantom. It was on a Phantom.
Oh,
and all the Phantom guys were like, "Oh, Phantom!" No, and I was like, and somebody finally popped in and said, "You guys have never read the Tarzan novel."
Yeah, no.
but Phantom, but no guns, right?
As far as size and muscle mass, I think Doc Savage and Tarzan would be kind of evenly matched.
Yeah.
So Doc Savage has the see, this is the Batman versus everybody thing. Because Doc Savage feels like he could outsmart, like he wouldn't. I think Doc Savage would be like, I don't think I can defeat this ape man if I just head on. So I'm gonna do something else to figure out how to beat him. You know what I mean? It's
do I have prep time?
Prep time. Yeah. Oh, so Sean, so you like what was that? The Deadliest Warrior, where the two
just face off. They face off. They see each other and then they have to fight. Not this prep time crap.
Oh my god, no! They would shake hands and be friends, guaranteed.
Yeah, sure.
Who has the better? Yeah. Okay, so Sean, what did you? So what was your first Doc Savage thing? Or did you see this movie?
My dad had some Doc Savage stuff, and I couldn't tell you what they were. I read them, but I it's all a blur to me. As Scott was saying, he was in underground cities a lot. Someone's got a city of slaves or something like that, or poised to take over the world or something like that. And he's fighting. Mostly what I read of Doc Savage, it was more fantastical, and I always thought that was just the character. And also I started collecting the magazines a while ago. It's taken me a long time to get issue 8 for some reason, in the GTA. And my dad would tell me, he was a big fan of Doc Savage, so he would tell me all this Doc Savage stuff. So yeah, I like Doc Savage a lot, but I haven't read a lot of it. I feel like, as I said before, it's kind of hard to get my hands on Doc Savage stuff myself. Even old books and everything, it's just not sold anywhere. I don't know why. So, are we getting into the movie or just our background?
No, so no, you can talk about. You can talk about the movie. Well, you and I go to the same shows. And there's never Doc Savage stuff.
No,
even the Pulp show you'd go. I feel like the Shadow is sort of the ruler of that.
It's the big thing now.
That it's you go. It's oh yeah, Shadow. Do you guys have anything Shadow? It's go to the comic convention. Is anyone selling Spider-Man? Anybody? It's but Doc Savage. It's hey, one or two guys. I think we last went. And that's where I got that one. I'll go get it in a second. The one. Maybe I saw it before you, Sean, and I had the same interest. So it's whoever sees it first, kind of just
at one point I had almost all the paperbacks, and they were always the mainstay of the used bookstores. You could get them for $1. But this is America, God damn it!
Yeah, not in Canada, and despite Patricia being Canadian, we don't have any of it. All right, continue.
Hoarding them, and then they just couldn't make their way up to the past that border.
Yeah. So my dad never liked this movie. He liked parts of it, and he liked some of the casting, but like he never liked it. And so I couldn't, like, back in the 80s, I didn't know where to find this film. And in the 90s, when I was a teenager, it was finally on some cable channel. And so I watched it, and I like, so J-Man knows that I've never liked this movie. I think that it's cool in that it is Doc Savage. Like, if you look at the different pieces of the film, it's totally Doc Savage. It's like Hammond Monk bicker, and Doc Savage stands on the board, the sideboard of the car, and all that. But all sorts of stuff, like they recite the big code and everything. But it's done. I think I had a horrible realization when I watched, because what I read up to that point felt badass to me, and all the guys were awesome and badass and can hold their own and fight and everything. And I'm watching this, and everyone's stupid. It's like they have this. The thing about this film, it's 1975. It feels like 1965. They've got this goofy music accompanying his crew. It's like do 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 do, and it's like what's that? They made something like 9 James Bond movies up to this point. Why couldn't it be more of that tone? I mean, even those movies were descending in the camp with the 2 Roger Moores that came out before this film, but they're not as bad as this. Like when he recites the code, and then they have some sort of like studio audience clapping. Like, what's happening? Like with the Batman series, it's camp, but it makes sense within its own world. Like Batman solves all the crimes, so the cops sit back. When Batman is on vacation or something like that, now the cops have to do something. Like those jokes pay off because it's within a world and a logic to all the campiness. Here it's like that one dude is in a giant crib or whatever. It's like, why?
That's so surreal. You're like, why is this? What is happening?
A lot of things I think ruin it for me, and I don't know what was happening with George Pal. I think this is his last movie that he produced. No, so I don't know if his health is failing and he couldn't like wrangle control of the production or something like that. The director directed like one of the most complicated films in history, Around the World in 80 Days. So it's not like he can't control a picture. So I don't know what happened here. So yeah, I've always been frustrated with this. It's the only movie we have. I feel like the reason why we don't have any Doc Savage movies is because of this. Even in the 2020s, Hollywood's like, oh, you know what? Let's make Doc Savage, and they watch this movie like, no thanks. Like I know Shane Black was gonna make one after The Predator, but that movie shot the bed so hard that they're not gonna give him Doc Savage now. So
I wouldn't give I wouldn't give that guy anything. The Predator is the worst movie of all time. But anyways.
I think it's cool that there is a Doc Savage movie in the world. I don't know why they did it like this. It's funny when you watch things that have Doc Savage DNA in them, even if they probably don't know it, but because they're like swimming in that genre. Like I feel the Reacher, even the book series, but also
Reacher. I was saying he should be Doc Savage. I keep saying The Rock should be Doc Savage, but
you can punch out a guy with one punch, and he has a crew of specialists. Yep. It's not exactly, but it's like of that DNA.
No, it is Reacher. No, Sean, it is Reacher. I just finished season 3 of Reacher, and then I just watched. I was like, let me rewatch Doc Savage. I was like, oh my god! I had the epiphany. I was like, oh my god, Reacher is Doc Savage. I'm like, that was a.
Look how they do Reacher is awesome. Yeah, look how they do that, and look how they do this, right? And like, I know that's probably not a fair comparison, but even like Buckaroo Banzai is basically Doc Savage.
Oh yeah,
and that's a campy movie too.
I thought that too. Yeah,
a very campy movie. But I feel like that movie works better than this. I don't know, man. I've never liked it. I thought maybe if I revisit it for this stream, I'd be like, oh, you know what? But no.
So Buckaroo Banzai is another case where the movie ripoff property is better than the original, than the movie based on the actual Well,
yeah. Like,
RoboCop's
right.
RoboCop's the
RoboCop's
better Dredd
right.
movie. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But no. Reacher is definitely. And I've read one Reacher book, and it happened to be the one that was season 2, which was the one with the team of guys. I was like, oh my god, I was like, holy shit, this is Doc Savage. But like, it literally is Doc Savage, and I was like, this guy should just be Doc Savage. I could just rename that show. I think with this movie, if I verbally tell you, and this is what I think Scott was talking about, if I verbally tell you the movie, it's pretty awesome, right? It's like, oh yeah, there's this, and then he gets there's the pool of gold and all that, and he's got his guys, and each guy's a specialist at something, and then they can also fight. Like one guy's got like a laser weapon thing, and it's like one guy's got a cane that's like a sword. You're like, oh shit, that's awesome. And then they added, like what you were saying, is like when Ron watches it, you're like, why is there this goofy music? And it's like, because I was thinking if you removed a couple of things, the crib is weird, change up a little bit of the takes, like do a couple of retakes of some of the dialogue, remove the goofy sound effects and the little like dings and all this like weirdness, it could just be a normal movie, right? Like what you're saying, James Bond came out. It's like they didn't make James Bond into a super goof.
No,
but I can never understand why. Like,
yeah, those look cutting edge. Like this is like they look like they're in a '60s movie. It's like
I mean,
like Monk is played way like he's a stage actor or something. No offense to the actors here. Come on.
Well, he's supposed to be ape-like or I don't know, whatever, right? But
but I picture something way different. That was so I watched the movie and I was like, have I been reading these wrong then? It's like, are they supposed to be goofy and all this? Like, what is it? Because it's like, this is not in my mind's eye what these characters were. It's like, what the hell is this? Like, I didn't think Habeas Corpus was that annoying, but Jesus, like, it's like he's
I didn't find the 5 annoying. I thought they were pretty neat. I thought they were kind of neat. Like, I was like, they could fight and stuff.
I think they needed room to breathe. They needed better writers, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. The thing is, it's like it Rock's out. Yeah, The Rock. I know they keep saying they want The Rock and stuff like that. It's like, I definitely don't want The Rock as Doc Savage. They just pick anyone who has muscles and has a tan, and they're like, oh, that could be Doc Savage. It's like, okay, no, that's not. That's not how it goes. All right, Steve, what did you? Have you read any Doc Savage stuff, or you've only seen the movie, or?
I've only seen the movie. I didn't even know this was a pulp character originally because remember, I got a lot of my information on the older stuff from my dad. My dad's the one who told me about Dick Tracy. My dad's the one who told me about the Shadow and the Phantom. He never said anything about Doc Savage. So I assume he just never read or he never was part of that whole Doc Savage thing. So for me, this totally missed. Until you brought it up, I totally missed out on this. So I've read nothing on Doc Savage. The movie, it prepares you for goofiness right off the bat for me. Like when that he goes up to the Fortress of Solitude and that narrator's talking, I'm like, the hell is going on?
It's like 66 Batman, Gotham City.
Then I'm like, all right, this is going to be a goofy movie. And because I don't have the background with the stories, with the pulp, I'm like, all right, well, I'm prepared for goofiness. So the goofiness didn't really, even though, the crib did get me because I'm like, well, he's sucking his son. What the hell is this? But like,
that's the only thing that takes me out.
I'm just like, why is he sucking his son? That's just literally even me prepared for the goofiness. But I mean, I found the movie to be enjoyable overall because I was mentally prepared for it to be goofy. So when it was goofy, it didn't faze me. I didn't sit there and go, like, this is totally, against the source material. I just went, okay, well, it's goofy. They prepared me for the goofiness. At least they prepared me for the goofiness, unlike Batman Forever, where Val Kilmer was apparently in a different frigging movie than Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. So I will say that.
And Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't as jarring to me as that was. And, so I enjoyed it. I think Paul Wexler is a great villain. Like, he's just got that villain face about him.
Hey, Edward.
I do enjoy the fact he completely, like, the rehabilitation thing to me is super inventive where, like, he literally does brain surgery to correct the imbalances. He rehabs you, and then you're a great member of society. I'm like, That's not
And you sing
That's a
Christmas
pretty-
carols and all
and they're
that.
doing Christmas carols. And the lady who put the donation in the thing was the voice of Woody Woodpecker. I don't know.
Oh,
if
that's
anyone-
Oh, I didn't know that. That is so
Really?
awesome.
So
Yeah.
Walter Lantz who invented Woody Woodpecker, like he created Woody Woodpecker, was a friend of George Powell, and Walter Lantz's wife was the voice of Woody Woodpecker. So he would, there was also Woody Woodpecker, like a Walter Lantz thing in George Powell's movies, apparently, and this was what it was. So the voice of Woody Woodpecker was given a big donation to the reform villains at the end, which I think is great.
Hey, Doc Savage is a Christmas movie now, so we just added that into the
We just
list.
we
Oh my
added it.
God. It's an
No, and-
annual tradition now.
That's it.
It's funny to see Paul Gleason in a non-Dick role because I've only seen him in Dick roles up to that point. The Breakfast Club, Die
That is
Hard.
true.
He's always the so I'm like, oh, he's just one of the guys. I will say that I was lost for what the point of most of the Fab Five were. Like when the lawyer and the engineer were like, we're not going, I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're going. I'm like, okay, cool. But then they didn't really do anything. So I'm like, well, you could have probably stayed back. But anyhow,
So in that
We got trapped in
movie-
the cave. Yeah.
yeah, we got trapped in the cave.
They fought
in
on
that
the
movie,
ship.
in that movie, they
What are you?
were- there was so much lore that they were trying to shoehorn into that first one film
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the Fabulous Five basically existed there to explain everything to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree, Doc Ross. So I did like the fights. The final fight was absolute. Like when they got into like sumo, I'm like, what the hell? They're actually going to do sumo, and they're two skinny guys, or not two skinny guys, but two not very large men. I'm like, what
You
the
could say
hell?
large man. I watched sumo. The tournament just ended last week. Had the youngest guy won three out of the last 6. I watched sumo, so you're allowed
Yeah.
to say what you want. You're not going to be offended. They're all fat.
Yeah, they're all ample gentlemen. Let's just put that.
Yes.
Anyhow, so it was like that was super funny. I loved how the actual name of the whatever fighting
The
style,
martial art name.
including fisticuffs, which I love. Just like
And the,
So
the
I-
stereotypical
the
Asian music
cheesiness-
on the background too. With the
yeah, yeah.
I've been to a few tournaments, and whenever there's a match, they play that music, so it's accurate.
Yeah, I mean the green snakes. When Doc Savage shoots them, I sort of felt like I was back in a video game for a second because they sort of pixelated when they exploded.
Yep.
I agree with Sean. It feels like it's a 1965 film, not a 1975 film. And it's very odd to me considering the amount of, like Michael Anderson directing it and George Powell, like the producer. It seemed really odd to me that this was the direction they went in. They just basically said like, hey, don't take this thing seriously right off the bat. And I can see if you were a fan of Doc Savage of the Pulps, you would be extremely pissed off with this movie. I don't have that background, so I was fine with it. I thought it was an enjoyable time.
Mm. I also like it going back. Like again, it's like to me, it's like Batman. There's 100 million different Batmans. I like them for what they are, as long as they're consistent. If they're like Batman Forever is the weakest because it's not consistent.
Yeah,
It's sometimes very serious and sometimes really stupid. Versus Batman and Robin is stupid throughout. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a silly movie. This is a silly Doc Savage movie. You got your Fab Five. He looks like Doc Savage. He fights guys. I don't know. He's got his logo on all of the.
yeah, he's got his logo on
Paperback logo, yeah.
I think that's how I feel about it. If you establish it's going to be stupid right off the bat and just keep it the same tone,
Yeah.
I'm less tense than.
if they had made that belt buckle or any of those vehicles as toys with that logo on it, I
Yeah.
freaking well would have had all of them.
Of course, I was looking. I immediately started looking for the belt buckle again. I was like, I gotta find that belt buckle.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Charlie, this is your first ish
So-
with the asterisks. You said.
I have an asterisk, and it's kind of wild because Dad was over. His birthday was a couple weeks ago, and Jackie's is next week, so we have like a joint cookout birthday thing for him. So I watched this movie today. You guys have asked me multiple times where it's, I don't know who Doc Savage is. I have no knowledge of this, and I'm watching this movie going, wow, this is funny. This feels like Batman 66. You guys nailed it with that. So I took it as that. Then a certain scene happens in this movie, and a core memory got unlocked out of my brain, and it's those animated green snakes. I went, I've seen this. I know this. And I was like, that guy, they're gonna like bite the shit out of that guy. Like, and marks would appear on his face. That happens. And then it happens again later. And I went, I know this. Well, we were sitting there eating right before the stream. Like, I didn't know if I was gonna make it in time. I'm sitting there with Dad, and I went, Dad, you ever heard of Doc Savage? He goes, yeah, sitting on a glacier, naked, in underwear, meditating, right? And I'm like, yeah. Did we watch that? He goes, oh yeah, it was always on TV. I said, green snakes. He goes, yep, scared the shit out of you.
Whoa, that's awesome.
So I have seen this movie, but I was fairly little when it came out. But Dad had a memory, and I don't think he read the pulps. I think Dad just knew this movie. But everything you guys have talked about are my only issues with this. The baby crib was just weird, where are we going? But it felt Batman. I had to look and see when this movie came out, because I didn't look anything up. I just watched this movie, and I was like, 75. Hell, that's. But then I also saw the Warner Brothers logo, and I went, Batman's popular. Batman made us quite a bit of money. Let's do the Batman to it. And that's how this movie feels. It feels like they went, let's take this character who's very Batman-ish and make him Batman without being Batman. I was going to ask why he's bulletproof, because I was like, is that in the pulp? Is he literally a man of bronze? Because when he falls underwater, I'm looking for this bulletproof vest. I'm like, where?
It comes off. He had bulletproof fabric too.
Okay, never said a word
he had
about it in this.
John Wick.
But I kind of took it as that, but I was literally questioning, well, he's the main guy. Maybe there's something I don't know that's in the books. And the other one scene that took me out of the movie was the molten pit of gold that the guy's trying to get into his pocket. And I'm like, isn't that shit hot? Like, what is that? And then it comes back and he's a statue, and I'm even more confused now. I'm like, is it like melted chocolate that when it dries, it hardens? That's how I felt.
That's what happens.
But those glowing snakes is a core memory in my head, and I saw it and it unlocked, and I knew what was happening, but it was only for those two scenes. Everything else felt new. I loved all the vehicles said Doc Savage embossed, not painted, embossed on it. I love the remote control airplane. I lost my shit at that, because I'm like, well, number one, we're making fun of the Red Baron with the bad guy in a biplane with machine guns right in front of him. And I'm like, he just shot the plane down. What's going on? Goes back to the hangar, like, we've been waiting to test this RC one. That had to be really expensive. Nah, just plywood and paper mache or whatever the hell. I was like, what? That was so Batman to me. That was just, let's be silly, let's be goofy, and just let the audience go, look, from now on, just roll with the movie. That was just like, just go with it, because nothing's really going to be in real life. The only real negative I'll give this movie is I was expecting a bit more action to happen periodically, and then there is this long trip, and I went, that's why Indiana Jones does the airplane on the map when they did those movies. Let's show the passage of time on the map, because Doc Savage shows us the passage of time with everyone walking through the jungle or driving through the jungle or talking about doing stuff. And I'm like, can we get to something? Anything, please. Keep me entertained. But then when the fights happen, I am entertained. I had fun with this movie. It's not anything I'm going to go seek out, because it's so fucking hard to find, or it's probably, the Blu-ray is probably stupid expensive right now anyway.
It's not that bad. It's on Warner Archive, so they print it on demand, so you can get it anytime you want. It's
okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was like a specialty release or something, you know, like how Shout Factory would sell out.
No, it's not like that.
And it's $100. I wouldn't be opposed to owning it.
$30 new off the Warner Archive thing too. So it was
you can get it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to owning this, but I'm not going to go like specialty out and seek it out.
Yeah.
But I had fun. I'm almost exactly like Steven as far as any history or knowledge or, how I even watched this movie. It's like I didn't hate it, but I don't have like what we've talked about with all our other movies, like Judge Dredd and all this stuff. I love the movies because I didn't have history.
Right.
And this one, I'm even coming in older where I'm like, this is definitely made for kids. But then there's a dude that's like covered in blood that fell off of a building. And I went, this is holy crap.
Yeah.
And my favorite scene shot in the entire movie, and I almost want a poster, is the top of the skyscraper, the eagle head with the helicopter coming up out of it. That whole shot, the way it looked amazing. And I love that they did it again when he came back to the building. And I'm like, oh, I love you. That's the shot I love. But yeah, that's my brief history that I actually have history with this. So that
awesome.
was kind of funny to find out today.
Well, I like that they showed that he has a lot of technology. He has an answering machine at the end. He has that refractive. I like how it's like the guy's lined him up. He shoots him. You're like, oh, that was weird. It's like, oh, the glass. And they don't say, and again, I can't remember, who said it. It's like the Fab Five's there to explain to the audience, right? It's like, oh yeah, good thing Doc had that
guide. Yeah,
let's use our fire extinguisher bombs.
Hey,
which are real. Those were real things, but I don't think they were still using them in 1975. But I guess it's like the 30s, the
30s,
the stuff in there. Yeah, but it was cool to see science, but older science. But for him, it was advanced science,
right?
That era didn't have the roll top desk that was the remote control for the plane. I had to laugh like, gee, I'd never look in the roll top desk in the middle of a hangar to see if anything's in it or anything.
Well, his name is Clark Savage. He does have the Fortress of Solitude. It is before Superman, so there's a few things there. He does have gadgets and stuff, so there's that too.
Yep.
So that's kind of a few interesting things.
Siegel and Schuster admitted that they lifted John Carter and Savage to make theirs.
Oh, you can tell.
Admit it because they didn't even they didn't call him like Bob Kent or something. It's like at least hide it a little bit. Like I'm naming my guy Bruce, Maine or something. I'm making a new character like Bruce Maine. Like
I will say. I'll say one more thing though, as I was watching this, because I don't have history with it, but I went, this guy feels like what Big Jim, the action figures, were kind of based off of. That manly man, a man's man type character. Because I'm watching this going, dude looks a lot like Big Jim. J-Man and I, of course, know who that is, even though I don't know, was that something when you were a kid that was still around? Or because I was 80, so it was kind of past.
Oh, it's 70s. It's
it was more 70s for Big Jim.
Right?
But we got Battle Cat, which was a remodel of the Tiger from the Big Jim. And then some of it is that one. And then there's other toys that just kind of slowly, the molds trickled back into Toydom from the Big Jim line. But I kept seeing Doc Savage go, it's Big Jim. This guy's awesome.
There's another connection because the European Big Jims made a Tarzan.
Really?
Big Jim mold. I've got one downstairs, but
that's pretty cool.
So
Ross, did you see this one in the theater?
Okay, so this movie is one of my oldest and dearest friends. My mom, so you're talking about the Batman thing. The Batman TV show was already like years out from the movie. This movie's release. It's like, why would they still be doing that?
Right.
Part of it was when I was a kid, when Scott and I were kids, they started like franchising out the adult Batman TV show as a children's program to syndicated stations. So like in an afternoon after school block of cartoons, there would be like the Adam West Batman TV show. So I watched that as a kid. This was like pre-Star Wars. This is a few years pre-Star Wars. So as a kid, it never occurred to me that the Batman TV show was a joke. I thought Batman could look at the fabric of an umbrella and through wordplay and puns, figure out that the Penguin was going to rob the museum that night. So I was all in for the Adam West Batman TV show as a kid. I loved the Zap, Powie, Zowie fight scenes and all that. Everything. And I don't know.
Hold on 1 second. By the way, that umbrella thing in that episode, that's where Penguin is listening to Batman and basing his crimes based on what Batman thinks he's going to do.
So that episode, I haven't seen that episode in about at least 20 years.
I haven't seen it for about 3 weeks.
Around the time, I know, because you're going through all the episodes. And I was like, you're going to correct me on it. But this was like a childhood memory I'm bringing up. That's how great an impression it had on me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So my mom I don't know if my mom saw the movie like with my dad beforehand or something, but she sold it to me. Look, they used to have these like kid matinees during the summer. Mm-hmm. So for 75 cents, like some ridiculously cheap price, like old timey going to the Bijou cinema, for 75 cents you could get a double feature, and it was like some kid friendly movie like Golden Voyage of Sinbad, or it was never a Disney movie. It was always like some off brand, like Digby the Biggest Dog in the World or something like that. Mm-hmm. So Doc Savage was playing one of those midsummer bargain matinees, and so my mom said, it's just like the Batman TV show. Sold.
Right.
And unironically, I was less than 10 years old because the Star Wars hadn't come out yet, and I hadn't seen my first James Bond movie either. So I was like, this is the greatest movie I will ever see in my life. So after the books were not that hard to find, but for whatever reason, I didn't get that many of them at the bookstore. But like after that, I was like, okay, I found the books. They were written as adult books though, so they weren't like written as for 10. They were written like 10-year-olds could kind of understand it, but they weren't written as children's books. So I had some hard time with some of the language and wrapping my head around like what he was talking about. Like when they go to exotic lands, I didn't know what some of the stuff was supposed to look like. Plus, it was like the stories were already decades old, and some of that stuff was like obsolete too. So I remember reading a spider novel and thinking like, well, why doesn't he just use a TV camera? And then there's like this Doc Savage story where the greatest scientific minds of the era are standing around and someone's explaining to them, we'll point this camera to this person, and then this cable will take that image through the cable on the floor into the monitor in the next room. And they take like a page and a half to explain television to the scientists of the 1930s, because it's like probably what debuted at the World Fair 2 years before or something. So anyway, I freaking love that movie, and that led me to reading the books. That led me to reading the comic books. That led me to reading more of the books. That led to me to reading all the pulp stuff, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Like that was kind of like, oh, it's kind of like Doc Savage. Sold. Give me an Edgar Rice Burroughs book. And then decades later, I had these nerd friends that would meet up at the comic store, and I tricked them into coming over to my place to having a bad movie night. And that became a tradition. And so I showed the Doc Savage movie to guys, fellow men who had read the books and saw the movie and fully knew what was going into, except for one guy. He was our English friend who had he was like some of you guys, like had no knowledge of Doc Savage. But he loved Superman, so we tried to sell it to him, like saying like, well, this was the precursor to Superman. Right. So he sat in the front row, and the movie came on. Half the guys knew the lyrics to the song and sang along with that freaking theme song every time it popped up. When he recites the oath, we all stood up, put our hands on our hearts, recited it along. Or the ones who didn't know the words to the oath, they just did like that low hum.
Right.
And this English guy is like feeling totally left out. Like, what the hell have I gotten my? Why am I in a cult?
Why am I in a cult?
Yeah, right. Who are these grown men who are like just fighting this kid along? And he thought it was the worst movie he'd ever seen in his life. And I'm like, bro, you've not seen enough bad movies. But
That's
it.
true.
I understand. So this was like the first time I'd seen that movie since the Bad Movie Night, which is probably over 10, 15 years ago. And
Wow.
there was some guy who posted on Facebook, I think in the last few days, about the Doc Savage books, and said, "Does anybody else find these completely unreadable? Because like the plots are all over the place, and the characters are, it's just stock characters and da 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 da." And some of the people did agree. They're like, "Yeah, they're kind of like that, but give them a pass because they were cranked out like in a month, so whatever." And I'm kind of watching the movie with, again, like with what was the one that we were watching that I was kind of like not sold on?
Send me the link to that Facebook post. I'll beat the crap out of that guy.
Yeah, no. I just moved along.
Every time they do these bad movie nights, Ross, every time someone says we do these bad movie nights, they always show movies that are awesome. They don't actually show actual garbage movies, like anything Disney produced for Star Wars, or like The Predator, or AVP. Let's have a real. Let's do a real bad movie night. Let's watch The Predator, so we can all shoot ourselves at the end because how boring and shit it is. It's like let's watch an episode of The Acolyte, so we can shoot ourselves after.
That was before like people who own the franchises actively set out to piss off the people who love the franchise. So we used that term like ironically because we were like, these are movies that are never going to win Oscars.
Right.
Or if they did, they'd be for technical things. But they were bad to everybody else but us. These were our
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Really.
So I mean, I think the only one that there were a couple of them that we regretted showing. I regretted showing after the fact because the guys just weren't into it. But there were also movies that they didn't know what it was ahead of time and were watching it for the first time. And kind of the challenge during Bad Movie Night was to come up with jokes, running commentary of jokes. So if there wasn't anything you could like make fun of while it's playing or whatever, it would get boring. But Doc Savage, man, so that was kind of the first time I noticed the silliness through the English guy's eyes. I was like, the guy in the crib, are there things wrong with it? Yes. The music, like Sean said, I would say, except for, I actually like the songs. The songs work for me, but that made for TV movie intrusiveness of the rest of the soundtrack, where it's like really loud and bam, 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 there are parts of it that look cheap, like a made-for-TV movie, especially like in the second half. But I read somewhere that they had sort of lost their budget 3/4 of the way in the movie, and that was the best they could do. I'll give that a pass.
See, there you go.
See, I told you.
Yeah,
I bloody told you.
Yeah, the animated snakes. Like you guys said, as a child, they scared the crap out of me. I could see why someone seeing it for the first time that would not work at all.
Apparently, they scarred me, and I had no idea.
Wow, that's crazy.
Me as a kid, yeah.
Yeah.
The two bimbos who like disappeared, Captain C's bimbos who disappear like 3/4 of the way into the movie.
It was just gone.
Stuff like that. I get it, but it's kind of like The Shadow, like scene by scene. Every time something came out from everything that was in the books that looked cool in the movie, like when he pulls the bullet out of the wall. As a child and as a 50-something pushing 60-year-old adult, when he pulls that bullet out of the wall, I was like, when you talked about Big Jim, the Big Jim action figure had these like rubberized arms that when you bent the elbows, the biceps would flex.
Yep.
And he tears that bullet out of the wall. I was like, that's Big Jim. Because I had a bunch of the Big Jim toys, and I had most of the Big Jim's pack, and I have like Dr. Steel, the Whip, Torpedo Fist. I have all those guys downstairs in my favorite toy display case. Yeah. They're sharing space with Micronauts and Rom Space Knight and a bunch of Judge Dredd figures.
That's awesome. Awesome.
This is the thing I have. I have this. Is that the first? That's the first one. It says 1 on it. I don't know if
that's the first Bantam book. Yeah.
So I've got that. I have that in the other room there. I got that from the same show that we were at. Sean.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah,
also
so-
the first
so
pulp
I'm-
magazine. That is the origin story.
Yeah, so
That's it. Damn it! You know what? I was gonna read that one, and I pulled this out, and I was like, "Damn it!" But
yeah, I've rattled on long enough. But the bottom line is, loved it as a kid. Never went through a period where I doubted how much I loved it, and saw it again right now. Saw all the flaws, saw all the mistakes. Pamela Hemsley's flawless. I was wondering, is that her now in the middle?
I don't know. Usually you can go 2024. Sure. Let's see. I don't think this is any of. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's this.
Oh, yeah,
Damn, she's aging good if that's her.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, yeah. I mean, when you're in a Doc Savage movie and you're Princess Ardala, that's like first crush territory right there.
Yeah.
So, but so everything about it that was every flaw, I was just kind of like, you know what? I do not care.
But that's just like me and Jay with Stallone Judge Dredd.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
We saw the movie first, so we fell in love with it and then learned about it. And even now we're like, yeah, I don't give a damn what anyone says about this movie.
Yeah,
I love it.
Reading the books did not taint my opinion. If anything, it was like I just appreciated what they tried to put in it. Because this is a 1975 movie, and superhero movies and any kind of heroic stuff was treated differently back then.
I do want to try fishing with a rocket, though. That intrigued me at the beginning because I'm making things for the betterment of mankind. Immediately cut to a rocket flying with a fish attached to a hook. I'm like, I'm in. I'm in.
You just see a flight of a whole fleet of little rockets pulling fish out of the oceans instead of.
We have drones now. I guess maybe now I should try fishing with a drone.
Yeah,
just see if I can catch one that way.
Drone fishing, yeah.
And not to be totally gay for Ron Ely again, but he probably knew about half of those martial arts he uses at the end of the movie. Like he probably knew him in real life. It could be karate and kung fu because he was. They'd
start the pose that very first
that was awesome
pose and get into it.
Yeah, and when he tears the shirt, all the hero shots and all that, and that's another thing. Like my friends and I have been talking about this recently because the book publishing industry is like really hostile towards books aimed at boys, and it's like if you don't like Harry Potter and if you don't like Percy Jackson, you're kind of out of luck. Yeah. And I was like, I read that and like I wanted to be Doc Savage, but I knew I couldn't. But at least it was worth the effort to try. And even if I wasn't like 100%, if I failed at 60%, that still made you a better person. At least you tried.
Right.
But it's like you laugh at how perfect the character. There's been so much deconstruction of heroism that you laugh at him and you laugh at Tarzan and you laugh at all the good guy, like just flat out good guy heroes. But I'm watching this movie going like, everybody respects this guy and just the way he carries himself with dignity, and everybody's like kind of scared of him.
That's why I like, because I go by the character. I always go by the hero first. That's like my first thing in these superhero movies. That's my number one first thing. If I like the hero in the movie that I'm watching and he's pretty close visually or visually and attitude to the comic or source, that's good enough. Like Christopher Reeve Superman, I don't care if it's Superman 4. Oh, it's cheesy. I don't care. He's the best. Yeah. Like Doc Savage, I'm like, no, he's awesome. He's saying the code. The guys respect him. He beats the crap out of people. He's with the girl. He gets shit done. I'm like, this is real Doc Savage walking around. Like, right. Same with Tarzan. It's like, this is Tarzan. He's walking around. He's beating the crap out of people. Like he's swinging around. Like, this is awesome. I'm not, and I don't like deconstruct. Anytime they're like, we're deconstructing it, except for Watchmen, which is a good story. And Watchmen's deconstructing generic, heroes, not a specific person.
Yes.
Right. Like, and we're going to talk about this with the James Bond on Wednesday, where it's like, I think Sean said this. I think Sean said it, where it's like, we're at a point now where we have to explain if a character is an old-fashioned character or has certain old-fashioned traits. We're now in this realm where we have to explain the character so that people, well, that's just how it is, or there's a character in the movie.
That was my point with GoldenEye.
That's your point. I'll let you say that point on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I won't. But that's exactly what. Yeah, so that was you that said that just the other day, and I super agree with that. Like, I'm tired of this. Like, oh, we gotta explain to everybody. It's like it's Doc Savage. He's the best. That's it. Well, he grew up with scientists. They made him awesome. He works his body. He works out. It's like, right. He's a good guy. Same with Captain America. All of the guys that I like. Whenever there's a group of people, the best guy is always going to be Captain America. MCU, clearly Captain America is the best. It's like any time Superman is the best, Doc Savage is the best. Any of these guys who are like the stand-up good guys end up being the guys.
A lot kind of good guy. Yeah.
Unless it's a story like Escape from New York, which is a top 5 favorite movie, where Snake Plissken, okay, but the story of that is in such a way that Snake Plissken has honor in his
anti-hero. That's where we're getting the anti-hero, that they're doing good on their terms.
Doc
Savage is a role. This is the quintessential role model. This is exactly what you aspire. That's why the creed, the thing he recites, rings in a lot of our ears growing up in the 70s and 80s. It wasn't taboo to want to be a man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So like Phil Owens was talking about the lobotomy thing. I was kind of like waiting. I remembered that, and I was kind of waiting, like, how did they handle it? And the fact that he's got like acupuncture, and the way acupuncture works, it's not like he's cutting out part of his brain and his personality.
Right.
He's like fixing the neurons of his brain that just kind of got short circuited, made him evil. So I don't even see it as being like robbing him of a personality or this.
That's how it would be seen. So if they made this today, that's what they'd be like. Well, we're not going to do the lobotomy thing. Weird, right? They're going to say all that kind of garbage now. I want to ask: is this the first one? Is this the first pulp? The one I've got over here on the.
Yes.
I believe Scott's shaking. Scott's.
That's the first one. Okay. So look. Does anyone know when the Widow's Peak thing happened? Because
I don't. To be honest, I was going to ask you guys that, because I don't know if that Widow's Peak thing is supposed to be his hair just like super slicked back, or is it a buzz cut?
Is it a paperback thing?
The Oscar statue, because he's the man of bronze.
Yeah, when they brought the paperbacks back in the 60s. You can see there's the photo. I saw the cover earlier of that first Man of Bronze paperback, where I think that's it in the middle there, where he's got first one on the second row. Second row.
So first one.
Second.
Oh yeah,
row.
This one.
No, second
row.
Second row. First one. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this.
He's got a conventional haircut there.
Right.
That's what they started with, but they wanted to give him something. That would make him, I mean, we can say, well, he's got an alien look or unique look. What they want to do is trademark the character. That's what it's all about. Right. We want a character that's so distinctive that if anyone copies us, we can sue them.
That makes sense.
So that's sort of, and you see that with like Disney's John Carter. The beasts in that movie didn't match the beasts in the book. Disney did their own thing with the beasts, like the white apes, because this is our unique interpretation and we'll sue you. So that was part of the art director wanted something that was unique and fantastic and eye-catching, and so that you would look at it and you would know, okay, this is that guy. If it's just a guy, like you see that first Pulp magazine,
just a guy,
that's just a guy. He's a big, handsome, strong guy. But there's nothing that you look at that, oh, that's Doc Savage. If you didn't know Doc Savage. Whereas with the Widow's Peak, instant recognition. So it was a marketing decision by Bantam Books when they started re-releasing the stories in the 60s.
Now, something interesting, because this is the font on all of his stuff in the movie. Like this is the actual font. That's the belt buckle that's on the plane. That's on the car.
Font. That golden book that's kind of like in what is it, a golden book? The one in the middle there, the hardcover. I got one of those. Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah. Those were children's abridgments or adaptations. There were only about 6 of those. I think 5 or 6.
Cool.
But yeah, going back, in these stories, he has bulletproof chain mesh underwear, and it's very thin, but it repels bullets. But he also has a skull cap he wears, and so that was some speculation that this Widow's Peak is actually his little bulletproof skull cap.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting. Yeah, here he is from Marvel 2-in-1, one of my favorite comic series with him and the Thing teaming up. That's
cool.
That's
that
a pretty
won't be
interesting.
in the omnibus coming up this year.
No, it won't be in the omnibus. They don't have the rights to him anymore. But yeah, so you could see Marvel even. It's like he's got the blue. He's got the blue. Like this looks weird. Like he has to have the brown pants and like the tan shirt, or else it's like not. This is like player 2, our Street Fighter friends would. This is player 2 Doc Savage.
Yeah,
right?
but think about it. It would be nothing but brown on the cover if you did that, though. You get
I know.
who's all tan, and he's the Man of Bronze.
Yeah.
So, like, he also looks a lot more like Norman Osborn hair.
He does.
That one. Yeah.
Do you remember when all the Rocketeer merch he's wearing like a red jacket because it's like too much brown and tan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have the brown tan. Oh, I know. Oh, it's a bit late for this, but I did want to mention that we did 2 Richards. I wanted to mention this at the beginning. I forgot. I just remember now. We lost 2 Richards this weekend. Norton, who is like the damn best in all those Cynthia Rothrock movies, man, like big time. Like one of my favorites. Like he's just so awesome. I have a lot of his movies.
Yep.
And Chamberlain, man, that is awesome.
Wait,
I don't have that. I don't have that one.
Equalizer 2000.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a Cable gun before Cable had big guns. Okay?
Yeah, I have to get that. I'm gonna.
Bob Liefeld loved this movie. I bet.
I guarantee you he did. He likes macho stuff. And I've got an Alan Quatermain in the Lost City of Gold poster, like right there. That's been hanging. That's one of my favorite posters of all time. We're going to do King Solomon's Mines versus Alan Quatermain. We're going to do that in a few weeks. We're going to do a versus. So we're going to talk about the movie, but we're going to say which one has the better story pacing, whatever. We'll go through my spacing. But yeah, we lost both guys, man. That's crazy. Both Richards.
Back to back. Like
Glover.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, Bruce Glover passed away too.
What?
Our heroes are dying.
Oh my God, man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I did not hear. I
don't like this timeline. Let's change the timeline.
Wow.
Anyway, so just we will do, and maybe we'll do something. Well, we will do definitely a Cynthia Norton like team up movie or something. We'll definitely do. There's like the Rage and Honor is cool and all that.
Rage and Honor.
Well, I happen to have backed the Black Creek movie. That's
awesome. I was gonna back it.
So I backed that one. I might. We'll see how shareable it is when the time comes. But
wow. Now there's there's the 2 ladies that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and then they like disappear, like never mentioned again.
They're there at the end though with him doing the Christmas thing. They're there with him.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Oh, the Salvation Army thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even recognize them.
I didn't recognize them either.
Yeah.
I did see though that the coroner was Michael Berryman,
Yeah.
and I looked it up, and this is his first movie.
His first movie.
Yeah,
Quick scroll,
awesome.
J-Man. So there's this picture. Oh, he's just went up. That picture of The Rock and Arnold. So, do you guys know who Will Migneau is?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
so there was a comic called DNA Agents, and that was kind of like his claim to fame. He does a lot of really great good girl art as well. I think he did some stuff for FemForce, which is like my favorite comic that isn't an Antarctic Press book, or 2000 AD. So he eventually got a job in entertainment. He produced the first couple of seasons of the X-Men cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but he stayed true to his comic book roots, and like he invited my friend Ben Dunn to come visit him at the offices at Saban, and so we did, and he took us out, and so he was also like moonlighting for DreamWorks at the time. So he was listing off all this stuff that DreamWorks was acquiring, like Major Matt Mason and all these like boomer things that Steven Spielberg and his buddies probably always wanted to do as kids. And he mentioned Doc Savage, and I was like, wow. And he says, yeah, they want to get Schwarzenegger to play him.
Oh my God.
And I was like, man, that's going to be rough because we've got this Aryan Superman imagery with the blonde hair. There was even like a German Doc Savage ripoff. What was the German Doc Savage ripoff called, Scott?
I'm drawing a blank.
But you know who I'm talking about,
Not
right?
Terry Rodan.
It was like Sun Co or something like that, right?
No, I am drawing a blank.
I don't know.
One of those guys like the micro publishers like Pro Se or Airship 50 something. Sunco, I think it was Sunkoh, I think was the
Sunco. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so he was like the German ripoff of Doc Savage, and I was like, it's going to be like Sunco, and you're going to have like this Aryan Superman with a German accent playing Doc Savage. That is not going to play for a lot of communities.
Wow.
Wow, that is awesome.
There's a guy who's currently doing Doc Savage ripoffs it's called Doc Talos, but I've never read those. I've heard they're kind of like deconstructed though. Yeah, it's kind of like
Why does it look so weird?
Yeah, what's up with that artwork?
It's a real arty. It's kind of like a modern arty take on it.
Yeah, so
apparently he does those like. I think each one of those covers is done by hand or something like that. But
I mean, fine for the art. I'm not dissing the art. It's just I would have no idea what that was if I saw it on the shelf.
Yeah, he shows up in a lot of the pulp group. He's got a Facebook group, I think, just dedicated to that.
I mean, it is what it is. Like some people don't like Frank Miller's. I've been getting his ugly covers.
Yeah. Well, like, in the middle there's the Pat Savage ripoff there. Those long up, yeah.
This. Huh. Well, I've never heard of this at all. I never heard of that Sunco guy either. What the heck? That's crazy.
Because you're not a real fan. No, it's.
I'm not. I don't hear.
Wasted more of my life chasing this stuff down.
So okay, Doc Savage? Would you guys want The Rock to play Doc Savage?
No.
I would say no to that.
No, you know. Okay, so it depends on what era. If it had been The Rock right after he made Scorpion King, then maybe. If it had been
Peak Rock. That was when he was good.
Peak when I was one of the millions and the millions of The Rock's fans. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm totally fine with him being like a mixed race guy or whatever. I don't care, but he doesn't have to be a white guy. But if I wanted to stay true to the source material, I would say mid 90s to early 2000s Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren at his peak would have been my choice. He would have been perfect.
You'd have to deal with the accent though. You'd have the same kind of
He doesn't, yeah, but the thing about Dolph is like he is such a studious fellow. Like he knows. I think he's a little more self-aware than people give him credit for. Because like, it's like he took acting lessons.
I would watch it. I would watch Terry Crews.
Sometime after Masters of the Universe, he took acting lessons and became, like even if he didn't look the way he looked, I would watch him in the movie because he's like a pretty good actor. And
I love Dolph Lundgren. I was just mentioning that his accent's the hard thing to kind of get over.
That would be tough, I think. But
Schwarzenegger was attached to this for a long time. I remember. And I remember my dad hating that idea too. When
and the Dolph Lundgren, like Dolph's accent is not nearly as thick as Schwarzenegger's, and his accent's kind of gone away over the years too.
I think this is the answer, Alan Ritchson. If you're going to do it now,
You got totally.
It needs
that guy.
to be him now. We can't wait 10 more years for him to do it.
Right.
You need to get it established, get him into it. And like J-Man said, that was even kind of crossing my mind that I'm like, I can see a lot of influence later. Like Reacher is very influenced. I'm sure the books are of Doc Savage and those pulpy kind of detective stories and crime stories. You see it, but this guy would be the perfect visual of what you picture in your head when you think of Doc Savage.
Yep.
And like he can play like a good straight good man. Like Reacher is very close to being that. It's just that he's a bit more, he's edgier than Doc Savage should be, right? But like in terms of
R-rated Doc Savage,
he's the R-rated Doc Savage. Yeah. But like he has it, but he like he does the right thing. He's not. It's like he has a code. He operates on his own. He can operate on his own, and he's super. He's a big, super strong guy who's also smart. And you don't get that. Usually, it's like, oh, you're either a super smart guy or you're like a strong guy. You don't really get both in one. That's why Doc Savage was so awesome, because like it's both guys in one. The problem is that I said this on. I had mentioned this on my I had mentioned this on my Daredevil Board Again reviews, which is the morality is skewed with writers. They don't know how to write a moral character because they themselves don't know what's right and wrong, or they're so skewed on their thinking, right? Like it's like
Superman Returns. Anyway.
It's Superman. Yeah, Superman Returns. It's like, well, he loves Lois, so he's going to stalk her and everything. I'm like,
huh?
No, I don't think Superman would do that. It's like, why is he spying on Lois? It's like he would just ask her, so what have you been up to, Lois? He would, it's like,
would he abandon Earth to go on a 5-year mission to?
Well,
to verify Krypton's been blown up when.
Yes. Okay. So I forgot the actual entire point of the movie is dumb, but So the movie just started. It's like, well, I had to go back and check out Krypton. I'm like, well, this movie sucks. I'm done. This is already stupid. What do you mean you're not sure if your father lied to you?
He told you.
He told you. He showed.
No one liked Kal-El back on Krypton. They're like, just get this motherfucker. Tell him we blew up.
He only makes baby-sized ships for some reason.
Tell him we blew up. He's not going to buy it, guy. He will. He's an idiot. Send him to Earth. They're all idiots. He'll just buy whatever we do.
Go to Kansas. No one knows about space in Kansas.
They're all dumb. They're all dumb there. It's a small town. They can't even read.
It's called Smallville. It's in the name.
That's great.
Well, everything today, the writers, it has to be edgy and ironic. You're right. They can't just play it straight. It's got to be, we've got to make fun of this guy, or we've got to show this guy is anomalous, or this guy is strange, or it's unhealthy to be this way. They just can't play it straight heroics. And it's interesting,
be a man's man anymore. It's taboo now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like with Steven, I met Ron at several of his convention appearances and stuff. And he wrote the foreword to my first book, and I talked to him, and he talked about he was under contract with Warner Brothers. He was the tail end of that actor's contract. When they would put actors on contract, and they taught you how to play the leading man. Because I remember saying, well, a leading man wouldn't do this, and a leading man would do this. It was a whole, formula, and even in real life, there were things. Ron had an ethical, code, and he lived his life so that it sort of reflected these heroes he played on screen, and vice versa. It's like, well, people aren't going to buy you if you don't live up to this.
Right. You can't be in the tabloids and then next day, you're this character. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And he had a bad tragedy in his life. I believe his son killed his wife. Near the end of his life.
Wow, that's crazy.
I think they found out his son had CTE, and he actually killed Ron's wife. And I think it was just before 2020. I think it was around 2019 this happened. And it's just insane that this happened to him.
Horrible tragedy. His son was a football player. Was quarterback at Harvard.
Yeah,
I played football up through college, and just a horrible thing.
I think, like, I don't know why they can't seem. I bet you if they did, I think because everything goes in cycles. I think we're at a point now where the reason why these newer superhero things keep failing, they just fail and fail, is that there's a certain expectation that this is still around, and this sort of good guy, straight man, good moral man, it's still around because I mean. And I remember, we beat this movie up all the time, but I have to beat it up a little bit just to make an example with Man of Steel, because, and not in a mean way. The thing is that like I remember, my sister-in-law, she's not a big movie person and doesn't know she doesn't know about any of these things. And she's like, "Oh, Superman." She's like, "Oh yeah, I went." Like my wife and her sister went as little kids to see the Superman movies in India because they played in India, and they loved them. And they're like, yeah, and they all thought Christopher Reeve was so handsome and he was like so good. And my father-in-law was very confident. He's like, they didn't go to too many live action movies because he has 2 daughters, no sons. So he would only take them to like sort of, cartoony things or fun things or whatever. Superman was one of the few exceptions where they went to the theater as a family to say, let's all go and watch Superman. And they kind of grew up loving Christopher Reeve. Like my wife doesn't like Superman, the character. She only likes the Christopher Reeve film. So she's a Christopher Reeve Superman fan. I've showed her every other Superman thing, the cartoons. She's like, yeah, Superman's okay, but she's not into that character.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay. So then my sister-in-law, fast forward, whatever. Sister-in-law is like, oh, I'm going to take the kids to it's Superman. It's Man of Steel. Yeah, it's Superman. She was horrified. Oh my God, what is this? And I was like, yeah, did you see trailer? She's like, huh? Like she doesn't know. This is like normie -10.
Nah.
Like if you're doing a Dungeons, D&D is what I always use. She's not even level 1 normie. It's like negative. It's like I don't know anything, right? Like it's like, didn't you know this is supposed to be a bit more violent and edgy? It's like no. So she just thought Superman, and it's like, what the hell is this? And she was really disturbed. It's like, and people can't put their finger on it because they can't articulate these days, but they're like, well, I kind of like the movie. I like the action too. Good action. There's good fights. I don't know. There's something off. And you're like, Henry Cavill seems cool. Yeah. Because when you see Henry Cavill talk, we know more about these people now because of, now everyone's on the internet. We can see interviews and he sounds really good in interviews. He's very polite, sophisticated. He sounds like a good, decent guy. And you're like, I like this guy. Something's off in this movie, and people can't seem to articulate. It's like, well, it's off because Superman is psychotic, and his father is telling him not to save children. Like your fault, even if you didn't have superpowers. So let's take Sean. So if Sean is there, hey, Dad, I could have saved the busload of kids. I would be like, oh, Sean, yeah, you should have saved them, right? And that's with Sean with no superpowers, and Sean is skinnier than regular people. So it's like he still would have been like, to save those kids, Sean. Right. So even generic dads would tell their generic sons, well, if there's a whole of kids drowning and you can save them, you're probably going to try, right?
We can beat up on that movie all night. The problem is it's a lot of just hot takes and post-it notes. It's like they try to pilfer the concept of Alf, that they don't want they don't want him to show his powers because then the government will take him away. The man is Superman. What are you talking about? It's like you're
Superman is an alien life form.
Yeah, but he's not Alf. Like Alf can't do anything. How are they going to take Superman away? They're going to come take him away and do what with them? What the shit are they going to do? You're coming with us, Superman. Okay, I'm not. Well, we're going to shoot you. It's like, it doesn't hurt me. Well, we're gonna we got nothing.
I'm gonna see my parents before you can get to them. Like, he's 30 years old and he's wondering whether or not he should save the Earth. He's grown up on Earth with Earthlings around him. This is his family.
Sean's frozen on the best part.
Yeah.
Ultron was on the internet for an hour and decided the humanity needed to die. So I mean, it's a flip of a coin.
I think Ultron saw my Daredevil reviews and
the whole movie. I hated it from the second I saw it, and like
you're freezing, Sean. Anyway. It's okay. We understand what you're saying, but that's the point, right?
Smith decided humans should.
I am okay.
Is that like 90s internet technology?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, it doesn't. We understand what you're saying. The thing is, so really, it goes back to Scott was mentioning. We're all mentioning. It's like they can't just write like we want a Superman story with a good man. He needs to be a gentleman. This is the Christopher Reeve has said this a million times. Everyone else has said this a million times. Well, no matter what movie you're watching, Superman 3 has cheesy parts, whatever. But Superman is a good, he's a good person who does the right thing. That's it. And for that, you need to be able to write a good character who does the right thing. And you need to know what the right thing is, i.e. saving a busload of children, which is like usually the bar that people set. That's usually the generic bar, when people just talk randomly, like, oh, if you jump off a cliff, if your friends jump off a cliff, are you going to jump off one? Right. And they say, well, what do you want me to save a busload of kids or something? Yeah. Like, right. So that's like a generic thing. And then he literally doesn't want, his father says, don't do it. And it's like, really, Dad? Like, what the heck?
Well, his dad tells him not even to save him. Like
Right,
his
which
I was sitting there thinking that too. It's like you're faster than a speeding bullet. Shoot! Oh, he ended up in another farm. He's okay. He's fine. It's a miracle. Like anything? No, just don't save me. I'm gonna die.
That's why when I watch this movie, I like Doc Savage. Like, I like that he's just a good guy, and it's like, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to, try to help my friends. I got to help these people out. And he's like, I'm going to honor, my father's agreement with you guys and all that. Hey, Pierce, what's going on, dude?
Yeah.
I
like that it never. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Charlie.
I was just going to say, where he's talking about how good he is, it was never about, oh, I own this land full of gold. It was the tribe lives here. We have a symbiosis with this tribe. My father left it with them, and Dad is just protecting it by having it in his name so no one else can steal it.
Right.
It was never like he was going because he already has a vast amount of wealth. He literally looks at the thing going, looks like gold, doesn't it? Like, not like, holy shit, boys, we done made it. Guess how many remote control airplanes we can build now?
Right.
You never get the fact that it was about money with him in that.
And I was going to say there are some things about it that are problematic as well. The movie itself, with all the white actors with the
brown face.
But besides that, that was a problem this time, and I give it a pass. But there's some problematic things as far as like the that he owns this tribe's land and they're mining, they're making the gold bricks for him and all that. But they do show like the bad, like what a bad person would do, and they show like the Captain C's making them slaves mining it. And they don't look like they're very happy doing that. But like with Doc, it's a little more voluntary, and you could just tell from everything he says and does in the course of the movie that even though he owns that land and he technically on paper owns the mine or the pool of gold and all that, that he's going to take advantage of it in the most humane way possible. He's not going to make those people slaves to sending gold bars back. He'll probably bring his own people over there to do it,
or get it when he needs it.
In return, they'll get schools and they'll get medicine and they'll get, it'll be a symbiotic. He's going to do everything he's going to do from everything you've seen in the movie. He's going to do in the best, most humane way possible. Even the lobotomy doesn't seem like a bad thing when Doc Savage does it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, when was the last time you seen a movie that showcased a Boy Scout helping a little old lady cross the street?
Oh my
God. That was awesome.
I nearly shit myself when I saw that.
That was like, as much as there's a lot of stuff happening in this movie, seeing that and just being like, damn, this world sucks now, because you're just like, it was so simple back then. So simple.
Did you actually see that in real life? Because I do remember seeing that when I was a kid.
I vaguely, because I was 80s and the 90s when, you still were taught manners. You still, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So there was a lot of that, but I was like, kids stopping the traffic, picking
that was awesome.
Like, I teach my kids that, you hold when it came down to where you're not allowed to hold a door open for some people now, I'm like, fuck y'all. I will always hold that door open. If you want to get pissed off at me, I don't give a shit. I was taught.
Ableist.
Okay, so
I can't.
At my place, I'm in a condo, 23 floors. Mm-hmm. And like elevator. I not only do I hold the elevator for people, I put my arm to keep it from closing, but also when I'm coming in, I'll look to see if someone's getting out of their car and on their way to the elevator, and I'll hold it. And then another thing, when I'm coming out of the elevator, if people are coming into, I'm leaving and they're coming in, I will go back and hold the elevator for them to get in to catch it, and then I'll leave. And you know how many times I've had people utterly like shocked, and some have been actually stunned. They've been like, oh, thanks. They're like, thank you. And they're so in shock that this even happened. They're like, what? And they're like, what are you doing? I was like, no, I said, are you going up? I'm holding it for you. They're like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. They're like literally in shock. But the reason I do it is that I know they're going to pay that forward, because now they're thinking, holy crap, that was really crazy. This guy held the door. We've had some crazy today, maybe yesterday. I don't know. Okay. You know, I order a lot of stuff. We had massive boxes. Okay. Massive. We got to take it down to stupid P1 to the recycling. So I'm like, you know, my wife and I literally tower like this, right? Mm-hmm. Guy in the elevator. Would you like me to hold some of those for you? I promise. Spock's honor. Not making this up. The guy said, he goes, look, Sean was so embarrassed that he had to leave the screen.
Like, I never hold doors for anyone. I never hold doors. I kicked an old lady on the way here tonight.
Right. No, the guy said, he goes, can I hold some of those boxes for you? Okay. So it's out there. It's small, but I've also had people literally I've come in out of my car. They see me. I've got 2 massive bags of groceries, massive. Like it's Doc Savage just holding these up, right?
Yeah.
And the guy shuts the door on me, and I'm like, "Real? Are you for real? You know, you shut the door on me." I always press the button I always go in first, and then I become the doorman. People come in like, "What floor?" I press it for them. It's like some people are complete a-holes and some aren't. It's 50. It almost is 50.
It's weird, man.
Yeah.
But
there was a time that it was normal to be polite and to be courteous. You know, it wasn't, I need to be an upstanding citizen and I will do this. It was just fucking normal. And now they're trying to make it like I'm the weirdo because I do that now. And it's like, I don't know. I'm from the South, man. We still wave at each other, even if you don't fucking know who that is in the other car. We always, like going down the same road. It's like, hey, how you doing? It doesn't matter. Jackie moved down here and she's like, did you know them? No. They just wave. You wave. She's from Ohio. She's like, I had no idea. Like we'll fly the finger at someone we don't know. I'm like, well, reverse it. And
reverse it.
Yeah.
No, I've scared people.
Talking about manners. That's great.
Yeah, no, I've actually startled people. Like people come the other. I'm like, good afternoon. It's like they're like, what? I was like, oh, hey, yeah, good afternoon. I'm scared the crap out of them. They're like, oh my God, what do you want? No, don't kill me. Here's my wall. I haven't done anything. I'm like, I'm just saying hi.
I talk, you know, like on this, but you know, it's kind of fairly base level. And I'll go into the gas station, especially when I don't go too frequently. Good morning, how you doing? They're just like, what? What? I go, good morning. I'm like,
just take my wallet.
I'm like, does no one talk to you in the morning? Now my regulars, Charlie, how you doing? Go, coffee over here. There's to this. One girl always gives me my energy drinks. She has them behind the counter. Here you go. It's that kind of living I'm used to, but it's everyone else that's just like, wow, you're weird. No, I'm not weird. You're weird.
So
you're
okay,
one
last one. This is now, if you know me too well, it goes reverse. So in the office, I was walking and one of my coworkers, Heather, she was walking with me, and then it's like a heavy door. So I opened the heavy door and I saw her, and I quickly went and shut it because it actually closes very slowly. So I closed it fully on her so that she'd have to open it. And she's like, Jason, what the hell was that? And I was like, listen, it's all equal. I'm just treating you. I'm just treating you equally.
That's funny though. I will do that to Jackie all the time. I will purposely shut the door in front of her. Yeah. What are you doing? I'm like, it's funny.
I just figured that's just to be funny, but I looked at her, so I saw her coming in, and I quickly ran and shut the door.
You would not do that to a 70-year-old woman with a cane behind you that you didn't know. That's the
no way. I would wait. I'd be like, what was that, Mr. Bean, or who was it? Somebody got stuck and they're just holding the door the whole time. Was that Mr. Bean? And he's just like, God damn! Like
that's happened to me at a restaurant before. I am now stuck.
Yeah, I'm
will be
stuck.
like
Yeah.
in
You're a
line.
smart
I'm
man.
like, I'll be there in a minute. I can't let go.
Yeah,
You wait for the next good guy.
Yeah,
where the good
and-
guy's like, you've been here a while. I got you.
I got right. I need to be relieved. Like when's the next guy coming or whatever.
I got stuck in the elevator at work, and it was my own damn fault. And they were like, "Are you okay?" When I finally got out, like an hour later, they were like, "Are you okay? Do you need to go home?" And I was like, "No, I just sat on the floor and waited."
I had an hour break. I'm great.
I was just glad that I didn't have to pee. So,
oh God, yeah.
And I had a wet spot in the elevator is all I can tell them.
Our elevator, you'd never know.
There you go. Say, I've been in a lot of them.
Doc Savage pulp. So I wonder how much. Let's see what are the actual like. What would I wonder what the pulps cost now, like on eBay or something.
Oh, I'm sure they're wildly.
They're probably hundreds of dollars, right?
It's hard to say because like the audience for this is, I mean, not to be morbid, they're kind of dying off. Like we're the last ones who put value on these things.
Doc Savage.
So it's like some old guy who's got them all, who's hoarded them all, and then there's like us who would like, oh, if I see one for $20, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I think the price varies widely depending on how in demand it is. The older ones, some of those newer, the Doc Savage science detectives or whatever, those those are affordable if you want them.
Well, remember when those omnibuses and the twofers were really valuable because those were like at the end of the print run, and they didn't make as many of them, and people wanted a complete set, were scrambling for them. And
I'm looking.
And you're talking about the pulps too, because like the hero pulps are the most in demand. But like if it was just sort of a general action pulp, like that might have had like an L. Ron Hubbard story or one of Lester Dent's westerns or something. Even though it's Lester Dent, nobody would care. Half the people don't care because it's got to be Doc Savage.
As much as I like the movie, I'm not really interested in trying to find the book. So I kind of get where you got to find your audience. You got to find the people that are willing to spend it.
Right.
If I was gifted a book, cool. All right. I'd take it. But me, I'm not, I have way too much other shit that I collect. And I'm like, I can't add another character.
Well, and I'm with
have.
Scott too. Like I've already got more books than I could read for the rest of my lifetime. So
yeah.
Did anyone Sean's there you go.
Sean's back.
Did anyone get this, or was I the only person who was on this series like when it came out? Because like finally this was so Doc Savage was something that I just didn't get opportunities to get a lot of, and there wasn't these pulp shows. I didn't know about these pulp shows. I didn't know about this old book show. I didn't know about any of these shows. I just went to generic comic conventions, and it wasn't even small ones. It was usually the bigger ones, which didn't have a lot of stuff. It was mostly celebrity based. But when this series started, I thought, oh, it's the Spirit, Batman, and Doc Savage teaming up, and it's DC universe, but only no metas, no superpowers, so it's like the villains were all, I don't want to say generic, but like it's like you could have Joker or Two-Face or something, but nobody,
no superpowered,
no superpower people, right? Yeah. And I was all over this. I was like, put this on the pull. I need to get all of these things. It's the first time I could get Doc Savage stuff from the beginning. I'm not late to the game. I'm not going on eBay and paying $100 each or whatever. Yeah. Like I'm right there. Did anyone else check these out?
How old were you when you got into Doc Savage?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know when this. I got number one of this off the shelf. That was 2010. So, I mean, no, I wasn't a little kid. Little kid me is like He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats. 90s is where I started to, watch all these kinds of movies and stuff. When I'd watch anything on TV. I was a bit addicted to TV. Like I'd watch any show, any movie, no matter what. I would stay up till like as much as I could possibly stay up for. Like I used to stay up till 2 a.m. watching as much as I could of anything. And at one point, I had 2 TVs in my room. So I could like side by side. I had 2 TVs side by side, and I would like play video games and watch movies at the same time. And I had 2 VCRs hooked up together so that I could I would rent a movie, record it, and watch another movie and play a game at the same time. And then the next day I'd watch those movies, and I just got like addicted, and I would watch anything at any point. The first Phantasm movie I saw was Phantasm 2. I started half an hour into it, didn't even know what the movie it was. I'm like, this looks cool, let's watch it. I'd go to the video store. I'm like, Army of Darkness. Yeah, this looks awesome. This guy's got a chainsaw hand. This is bought. There wasn't any research like, oh, is this part 3? I don't care. I watched Friday 13th part 5. That's the first one I ever saw, because I went there. I was like, hey, I have that hockey mask right now at home. I got the exact mask that's on the cover, because it's not his real mask. And I rented that movie. I was like, I don't know what this is. It's part 5, like part V. It's like, what's okay, sure. Yeah. I was like 11 or 12 or whatever. So I just watched anything. Black and white didn't affect me. Oh, this is a silent movie, didn't affect me. Anything that was on was cool. Completely full open mind. Like, I like so many different things. And I don't know. Doc Savage, like, yeah, sure, he's like, what do you think of Doc Savage? He's awesome. What do you think of The Shadow? He's awesome. Who's better? I don't know. They're both awesome. Like, that's my attitude for anything. It's like, all this stuff is cool. Like Tarzan. It's like, Tarzan's great. It's like, I wasn't thinking, is this the accurate Tarzan, or it's like Judge Dredd. I went to go see Judge Dredd. I was like, holy fuck, this is the fucking best movie ever. And I was like, Judge Dredd's the best movie. Oh, you just took his helmet off. I'm like, well, he did in the movie, so whatever. Well, in the comics, he does it. I'm like, okay. So then I got some of the comics. I'm like, okay, he doesn't take his helmet off in the comics. What do you think of the comics? They're awesome. What do you think about the movie? It's also awesome. It's like, yeah, but it's not accurate. I don't care.
There was a guy who reviewed the Judge Dredd movie, and he wrote like a multi-page essay. He was a British guy, and this was like in the British fandom corner of things. And he wrote this. He hated it, and he wrote this scathing review, but almost none of it was about the quality of the film or the acting or anything that made it worked into good filmmaking. It was just this multi-page list of ways that it deviated from the comic book.
The inaccuracies,
right. Now, when I approach something, especially if it's like based on something else or inspired by whatever, I can be pretty open-minded, even if I'm really, really close to the source material, as long as it's good. Because like, there's been 3 or 4 other Micronaut comics that have come out since the Marvel run, and they've been various degrees of okayishness, but it's not because it doesn't stick to the Marvel run. It's just on their own, they're just varying degrees of okay. But like when I was a kid, I was like, if it was an American thing, I did like almost autistic levels of deep dive research. If I really liked it, it was like, I didn't like a lot of things, but the things I liked, I knew and had everything about that.
Right.
But if it was from Japan or Mexico or something foreign, like anything you could find from those places was like treasure. So it's like, and I didn't read the language, so it's like badass looking robot on the cover, and it's from Japan. Sold. I'll find out what it is later, or
oh yeah, I get
girls using luchador masks.
Sure.
Blue Demon from El Santo at that time doesn't matter. I'll find out later. That kind of thing.
Right.
I think you got to be open. Like when I saw Tarzan, watch Tarzan. Yeah, me, Tarzan, you, Jane. Okay, that's that's cheesy. It's not really a thing, but whatever. I was like, I don't know. It's Tarzan. He's swinging around beating up guys. That's cool. I saw Greystoke. He's not beating up as many guys in that. But I was like, this is still pretty awesome. If I don't like something, it's pretty bad because like I'm pretty loose. Like if I don't like something, that means whoa. Like we really, because I want everything to be good, and I'm looking to like I'm watching this Doc Savage movie. I was like, oh man, like. This is Doc Savage. He's walking around and he's fighting guys. And when they're like,
gets torn.
And what do you want to drink? And he's like, oh, I'll have this on. He's like, oh, of course you don't drink. It's like, oh, do you want to smoke? No, I don't want. And then I think, is it Long Tom? I can't remember is it Long Tom that takes the smoke? And he's like, yeah, I'll take it. You're like, oh fuck, he's got something. There's something going on with that.
He never lights it. And I'm watching it going, he's not lighting that cigarette yet. Yeah, what's and then it pulls that laser out. I'm like, oh, that's it.
And like Doc Savage just looks up. It's like, it's laser time, buddy.
Yeah.
And then it's oh shit. That was awesome.
Well, you know what else makes Doc Savage great? It's got Thor from Star Crash as the Dutchman.
Any Star Crash relate? Now Star Crash we had watched with the 2 Hercules movies with Lou Ferrigno, who's also the best. and we didn't know that it was the same director. So when we were watching these, we were like, what? It's Luigi Cozzi for. I was like, oh my
it
God,
was blowing our mind when we figured that out, because that was during our like bracket versus thing that we were doing. It was awesome.
Yeah. It's like, holy shit. Lou Ferrigno Hercules is the best too. I never learned how the constellations got created, but it was Hercules punching monsters into the sky. I'm like, okay, now I know how the constellations
Which probably has nothing to do with the mythology, but like if Luigi says it's all happened, I'm all there. Yeah.
It's canon now. That's all I care about.
It literally is canon.
It literally is canon now.
Yeah.
Listen, and if I don't know if you guys watch Deep Space Nine. One of my favorite characters is Garrick. And then they talk. Garrick is talking to Dr. Bashir. Garrick is a Kardashian, not a Cardassian. No, Cardassian, not a Kardashian. Sorry, Cardassian. And he's like, he goes, it's all lies and stuff. He goes, was any of it true? He's like, oh, it's all true. He's like, even the lies, and he's like, especially the lies. And it's like, I was like, that's it. It's like, even if it's not true, it is true. It doesn't matter. Lou Ferrigno created the galaxy. Thank you, Lou Ferrigno. We appreciate it. We haven't said thank you enough to Lou Ferrigno for doing all that. Anything else on this movie or Doc Savage in general that you want to look at?
Just a couple of things you guys touched on. The music was a Sousa march. It was John Philip Sousa, and so there was a question. Again, I've never seen in writing, a lot of people have questioned why they did the changes in editing and stuff that they did. And I've never seen anyone step forward. I think the Batman theory is probably as good as any I've seen. But the Sousa marches, maybe it was because they were public domain. I don't know.
Well, the guy who did the rest of the music, I think he was a TV guy, which is why it sounds like music from a TV movie or something.
Yeah. And as far as the guy in
I think it was George Pal himself who said like the Batman, and you can even see where like things were inserted. Like some of the stuff feels like it's just close up and inserted, or like not really part of the main action and just stuck in there, like the guy in the crib, or like extra shots of habeas corpus, or
give me some B-roll of the pig.
Yeah, or even during the fights, like some of the more slapsticky, goofy parts during the fight scenes and all that. Yeah. That all does feel like it was kind of like stuck in. But when you were talking about the travel scenes, the Indiana Jones line on the map versus this, like back then, especially when those books were written, travel was dangerous. So just seeing guys on camels or horses going through an exotic land, that was like around the world in 80s days excitement stuff.
I get that. It's just not expecting it, not knowing source material or even from that.
That hasn't aged well.
Especially when I've seen Indiana Jones a lot and first, and then I get introduced to this. You can see why Hollywood transitioned to that. Let's keep the action going. Let's keep the pacing of it going.
Right. Well, once people are like educated to the tropes, it's like you can move on from that.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Adam West parts of it, and there's some of it that actually lends itself to that. Like pretty much anything Ham said or anything Monk and Ham say, it's kind of like they should have. If they just contained the goofiness to those two, it probably would have been fine. With a little sprinkle of I'll be super amalgamated type of stuff from Johnny. That would have been fine.
Right.
But when you have other characters going a little over the top, especially the villain, it's like
when the villain does it, that's what sends it over that Batman edge.
Right.
You're seeing the Riddler and the Joker being, over animated about things. And now, I'm watching this and I'm not worried about the bad guys because I know Doc Savage is going to kick their ass and they're goofy, especially when one of them technically dies by being turned into a golden statue.
Right.
It's like, okay, I don't take these guys as serious.
Yeah.
As they probably would have been in the
shower on him and he's not burning or anything.
Yeah. He's covered in it when he first shows up and he doesn't go, ow, let me open my pocket and catch some gold. I'm like, I'm not understanding the physics here, people. What kind of gold is this?
Well, they emerge from the cave and she's barefoot and the pig goes running out and like nobody goes, ow, my feet.
Yeah. A couple had gold shoes because there was so much of that shit all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Doc Savage's boots have something on the soles, but that's about it.
I did like the anti-venom, though. Yeah.
We're talking
an interesting
about
bit of
sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Fantasy casting. Ron Ely told a story, for those of you who know the actor Buddy Hackett.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yes.
Buddy Hackett loved Doc Savage. And he begged Ron to bring him into this movie as Monk. Buddy wanted to play Monk.
Yeah.
And Ron said, I didn't see it. And he wouldn't advocate for Buddy. And it ended the friendship.
Oh, my God.
I could totally see Buddy in the role.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Especially I like the guy that played Monk. He was okay, but I had no predilection of what he should look like.
Wasn't Buddy Hackett in the other movie the director made? Am I mixing up with It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World or something?
It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World. He was definitely in.
He was in that, yeah.
I don't think he was in an Around the World.
That was an all-star cast, but I don't remember Buddy Hackett.
Unless he had a bit part. I don't.
Yeah, he might have had a bit
That's
part.
also been a movie I have not watched probably since I was a teenager.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I can see that still.
But Around the World in 80 Days, they could have got Cantinflas to play the guy who got made into the gold statue.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite line in this movie is from Johnny, and Johnny was my favorite of the Fab Five because Johnny actually seemed to serve more of a purpose than the other ones. He actually was an adventurer himself. He was, so he sort of fit into the storyline more. But I remember he was looking for that light, and he says there's an absolute absence of what was ambulation.
Yes,
ambulation.
This is my favorite line in the entire film. An absolute absence of ambulation. I'm going to use that if I walk into a dark room now.
So you've got Ham, who's a lawyer. You've got Monk, who's like a chemist. Rennie, who's like like a builder.
He's an engineer.
Johnny's your archaeologist guy who you like, and then Tom is your electrician guy or whatever. So that's your five. It's actually and then like Doc Savage seems to be good at everything, and then they're like the specialized guys that sort of like
you would ask them like if there's an electrical question. But who was the one who had like the really big fists? Because they didn't do that in the movie.
That was Rennie, yeah.
Rennie,
huge fist, and he would punch his way through doors.
Yeah, I mean he didn't punch his way through a door, but he didn't like have like the super,
comical sized fist.
He's got because he's got a lot of guys, but Captain Satan, I don't know if anyone liked Captain Satan. He's got a bunch of guys too. And I didn't know about Captain Satan until recently. He only has 5 books. I've only read the first 1 or 2. And he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. That's how crazy that is. Let's see him on here. Well, here's the 5 books. I just show them right there.
Like Anton LaVey and Ozzy Osbourne and
where's his guys? He's got a lot of guys, but I don't know if he's like I guess he's a copy. Like I know the Spiders got Ram Singh. So each guy usually has 1 or 2 guys with them, but having the 5 is kind of neat. Like they're each, because then you start to think, who are you going to cast? Like who would you do with as all 5 of them? And then you start to like, you'd almost think like, I'm like, okay, if each guy has a specialty, each guy needs to have a certain martial art. Like you can say, oh, Hammond could be he's a fencer because I guess he's got like a sword, and each guy could
sword.
like each guy can have a certain, one guy's got the pressure points, like he was doing the right, so it's like each guy can have his little thing too. It's not just because like they fought too. I like the idea. This is the other thing too. I like the idea that there's Doc Savage and he's got these other guys with them, and they're all good, capable, good moral guys. It's not just even one guy, it's a bunch of guys. This is the thing that they said about Star Trek, which was why Star Trek was so good. And I would say all the Star Treks, well, the real Star Treks before JJ came on. Yeah. The real Star Trek shows were all good because everyone was capable at their job. They're in Starfleet. They're a kick-ass engineer. They're a kick-ass doctor. They don't come up with fake tension. oh, maybe Doc Savage and Ham are pissed at each other now and there's a fight. And there's none of this dumbassery. Now, I know Ham and Monk, they love each other and they would die for each other and they would save each other. But, you know, they rub each other the wrong way here and there for fun, right? Like, oh, you know, you're being an idiot.
That's what brothers
they
would
bicker.
do. Yeah.
Right.
It's exactly. I can make fun of him, but no one else can.
Yeah, exactly. So
like brothers.
So you need to have like almost an all-star cast, because again, you could just say, well, yeah, one guy's Doc Savage. Yeah, but what about the other guys? Like, they're all important characters, and you can make this movie's one of the faults is, like, you guys are right. It's like they just show up, there's 5 of them. You're like, well, you need Doc Savage. Like, I like that the origin is just like, I know it's just lazy. It's just told to you. It's like, yeah, he's great, and he's got a bunch of scientists raised him, and he's awesome, and there you go. It's like, okay, that, you know, it's good enough for me because I come from the Superman's origin was 1 page in the comic. Batman's origin was 1 page in the comic.
Right.
I love Batman Begins, review to come shortly, people, in a few weeks. But I love Batman Begins. We don't need, you know, it's 1 hour and 10 minutes of screen time of establishing Batman. That's fine. As a kid, I didn't need it. It's like first episode of Batman 66, fighting the Riddler. Not even, and you actually say him again, which is great too. They're like, oh, the Riddler, oh, him again. This is the first episode. What do you mean him again? Like, this is it's like
there's a history. Yeah.
History. So I like, and they just quickly say, oh, we were together and we fought together and we promised each other that we'd always be there. That's good enough for me. But in any case, you do need 5 others to be these characters. It'd be a lot of fun to have big budget, you know, 6 guys together, all good, all like strong moral people. I mean, it'd be impossible.
I don't Niven as Ham and Buddy Hackett.
Well, yeah,
go ahead,
another
Scott.
thing that the Popes did was these guys were often the entryway to the adventure. Like Johnny would be an archaeological dig and he'd discover something weird, you know, and you know, Doc would come in, or he would be building bridges and stuff, and the bridges would collapse, and okay, somebody's using a ray or something, somebody's, you know, they would it gives you different, if you're going to have a multi-installment, more entry points than just, you know, the person coming up and saying Doc Savage,
getting attacked or something.
I like that.
The other fault of the movie is that because it's the first and only Doc Savage movie, they keep all 6 guys together as much as they can throughout the whole thing. So, which is handy for them to explain things to each other that the people in the audience wouldn't know. But it's like you have to give 6 guys plus the hero, or 5 guys plus the hero, something to do. And even when you, like in the novels, you could send, you know, Monk and Ham off on one adventure, and Rennie would go off to another part of the world, and then they trade intel and all that. This one, they're all together all the time, except for like one little bit where Doc is doing something, and then all 5 of the other guys are someplace else in a cave. Yeah. So,
see, in the book, the other 2 could have not went, like they said they wouldn't in this movie, and somehow they would have still gotten looped in. Like something would have been happening there
exactly
while they're over.
Sure, Charlie. Exactly. Look, exactly. Like, what are we talking about here? This is what writers do. So you got 5 guys. So you start off like what Scott's saying. Maybe let's go with Johnny. So he's doing some archaeological thing. Oh shit, something happened. A bunch of people died, and there's like something happened. Okay. Then Doc gets called in. In the meantime, you don't show the other guys if you're doing a new movie. And then you're like, you know what? We're going to need it's like, oh, there's some legal documents. Some guy comes in. It's like, let's call Ham up. And then they call Ham up and he's doing stuff. All right. Okay. Ham, take a couple of days, figure this out, get back to me. Like, have them do stuff. And then they can come back in the movie, and then they eventually team up, and you will get them all together because that's what you want to see. But you can have them do different things as it's going, with Doc always being kind of the head of the game, directing people what to do, like a G.I. Joe movie or any other movie where there's a bunch of people. This idea that there's too many characters, that's a stinking lie. You only need to have 1 or 2 scenes with each guy to establish their character, their morality, and what they do. I watched 12 Angry Men 400 times. I memorized that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. There's 12 men in there, and there's not a 1 hour origin per juror. Like, well, how do you know? It's like the first guy talks. It's like you got the nerdy guy. It's like you could see, okay, he's obviously a nerdy guy. He's like, oh, I don't know. He's okay. So obviously in his real life, he's not outspoken. He's picked on a lot, and as the movie goes, he fights back. He starts to talk back to that one guy. He's like, hey, you know, you can't push me around. Like, you're like, okay, so every character has growth in like 100-something minute movie, and there's 12 of them. So this is a lie. People can't write for shit.
Honestly,
You just
There
need
is
one
one.
scene per guy. Go ahead, Charlie.
There's one right now, and I'm just now dawning on me, even though we've mentioned one of the actors, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's a great example.
Like there's two missions going on, and there's a lot of characters, and we learn about each one as it goes, and that one's critical on what happens here and what happens over here. If they communicate once 3 times in the movie, and that's all, and it's a fantastically done movie. You know, it's very like that's a modern Doc Savage movie too. If you want to like picture Henry Cavill being Doc Savage now, and then you have all of your, 5 have all these specialties, but they just have, this is like them in the war. Like this would be like what they were doing that they talk about, that they were in the foxholes together, which I'm guessing they were talking like World War I. Yeah. Depending on what these pulps would have come out. So,
well, they did that in the pulp stories. Doc Savage would divvy up. He'd like, you two guys go talk to the police in this community and see what the police know. And you two guys follow this lead. He would parcel out the leads. And, usually like if the operation got compromised, they'd capture a couple of the aides. And then you kind of get to see inside the villains, their thinking. And meanwhile, Doc Savage is still working outside because he was very elusive. The aides were sometimes sort of the, they could be the battering ram or the guys who did the frontal assault, while Doc's, kind of masterminding it all. And then he's
the front line. They're the pawns in the chess game.
Right. And Doc's going to swoop in and save everyone, solve the mystery and everything. And he had almost this supernatural ability in the novels because he would pull all these clues and he would figure it out before anyone. Yeah. And he had this little whistle he would do. They called it the trilling. Whenever he would figure something out, he would trill. So when you're reading the novels, you're like, okay, that's a clue.
Right. So I read that weird sound effect the movie has was their interpretation of the trill. I was reading that in the trivia stuff, and I was like, if I'd never known that, to me it was just a weird sound effect.
Right.
Watching the movie, but knowing it was like supposed to be this like cue for the reader to be like, this is Doc Savage has he has unlocked a new achievement. If we go Xbox style, something pops up over his head.
Scott, was the trilling like he would kind of like unconsciously make a little whistle noise, or was it like something coming out of his brain? Or
they said it was like it was the sound of a bird. It was like an exotic tropical bird, and it never really addresses, I don't think, if he was aware he was doing it. Because it was kind of a tell also, but and I think it kind of came on later in the novels. They kind of focused on it. It was one of those, little shticks that maybe got overused at a point. But I think initially it was to tell the reader, okay, so this is significant. So pay attention because we're going to come back to this.
Right.
Okay.
And you can have the other guys. And the other thing too is like to make characters smart. So if you don't, like it can't just be like, okay, Doc Savage is the only useful guy. Like each guy, even if you're investigating and maybe one of them says, hey, Doc, I noticed something here. And then he's like, you're right, I noticed that. But then you know what that means? It means this. It's like, they figured out, and then he adds on to it to show that, yes, he's a little bit better, but they're not stupid. One of the things
building on, not tearing them down to do what he does.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't think they can do that.
He knows enough about what they're saying to be a good administrator based on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the captain. Look, it's Star Trek, right? He's the captain, and he's got all of his boys lined up, and he knows what each one can do. They're all competent. Everything now revolves around tearing stuff down and building up. So today's Doc Savage movie would have been Doc Savage is just starting out, making mistakes, doesn't know what he's doing, this kind of crap, which is every movie, even if it's an established character. Luke Skywalker, the new trilogy, they tear him down again. It's like, what do you want me to do? Fight the Empire? We've already gone through this. You already fought the Empire and won by yourself, being the only Jedi. So why are you upset about it now when you've trained others? Like, why are you now a monk and you hate everything? It's like, it's just because they don't know how. It's not because to tear down Luke. They don't know how to write anything else. They did it with just Daredevil season 4. Oh, I don't want to be Daredevil. I'm trying to figure out, what are you talking about? You've already gone through this in the last season. You got messed up and you came back. It's like, now you're coming back again. This is all they do for everything that they have. Started out on top. Everything should be, you got to aim high. Like all the Star Treks, original Star Trek, everyone was awesome immediately. Like Kirk didn't learn to be cool. He was immediately awesome, making the decision. Spock is awesome immediately. Bones, everybody. Scotty's like so good. It's like everybody is super competent. It's hard because they didn't need to have expertise. Like if I'm right, I don't think I could write Doc Savage because it's too smart. There's too many smart guys involved in it. I'm like, oh shit, like what would a lawyer say here? Well, what would because the way that they work now, they just write anything. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like lawyers don't behave this way. Lawyers don't do this. This doesn't happen in a court of law. I don't know. You want me to be a lawyer? Well, yeah, you're writing a lawyer show. Yeah. So I don't know what a lawyer would do. I don't know what a chemist would do. I got like 50 in I took like advanced chemistry. I think I got a 50 in it, which was a pass. So thank God.
Well,
that's not enough for me to write anything.
Yeah. Well, it's very much like, it's a great, when you said Star Trek, like the captain needs to know how every job works and be somewhat proficient in every aspect of it, but he doesn't have to be an expert in every end of it. Doc Savage, we already just know he's probably pretty proficient in almost everything everyone else does. Yeah. But because he knows so many things, leave it to someone who is an expert and does it every single day. Although I don't know if my electrician guy, the first time you show me he's the master electrician and everything explodes. Well, he does this. And also, I think he's the only person that kills someone in this movie. Yeah. Because he takes that lamp cord and electrocutes a guy's head.
Oh, it was just enough to knock him out.
Yeah,
no,
you missed that part. They went back and the guy was like, I'm totally good. It was just a little bit.
They just put the acupuncture on him too, and
he's
shock
good.
Therapy. The guy just shakes every once in a while.
He walked it off. He got a bit of a twitch every so often. He twitches.
By the way, speaking of modern takes on things, do you guys know who Tom Swift is?
No,
I don't know many Swifts, and the one I've heard of, I'm not interested in.
Go ahead and tell him, Scott, about Tom Swift.
Well, he was a boy adventurer.
I'm looking at him now.
Series of books, and if you look up Tom Swiftisms or Tom Swifties, he would always have these pithy sayings that came down through the to the zeitgeist. But I think today he's probably forgotten. Maybe we're the last generation.
Oh no.
no! There's a 2022 TV series which. It looks like, first of all, it looks like Shaft. I looked at this, I'm like, oh, they did a 2022 Shaft movie. It's like, oh no, this is Tom Swift. I'm like, well, unless he looked like Shaft when he was created like 80 years ago or whatever it was, then I don't think they interpreted that correctly.
I was not aware that there was a Tom Swift, a new Tom Swift out there. But
he's bisexual too.
Oh wow, that's one for the kids, right?
It's as current year as it gets.
Yes, we're not talking about that. I don't want to get in trouble.
Going
Scott,
back
go ahead.
To what you said, J-Man. A lot of it is the studios. They go for the least common denominator with the writing, and it's formulaic. Right. That character, the hero, has an arc, and he loses faith in himself, and he's got to be redeemed, and it's just over and over and over, and they've lost the ability. And some of it is risk averse for whatever reason, even though the box office is suffering. They think, well, we'll go with this, and we're not going to try to go back to, a hero who's, infallible and unquestioning. It's just
Steven, what you said the other night over on the Action Elite about the mediocrity of, people. What was that you said? Because Scott didn't hear that. So
it was, I said that they're trying to elevate mediocrity. They're trying to convince us all that mediocrity is great. And they're trying to aspire to mediocrity because they're saying mediocrity is great. It's basically one massive cultural gaslighting where they're saying it's not us who aren't good anymore. It's the audience is not good anymore. They're not smart enough to realize what is great now. Well, no, we know what's not great. We know the difference between greatness and not greatness. As decades roll, we have a better understanding of what's great and what's not because we have more experience with what is great and what's not. And we know this isn't great. But they're trying to gaslight us and say, no, you don't understand what's great.
Yeah.
Mediocrity is now great. Get that in your skull.
The whole it's all lowered. All the entire bar of everything is lowered.
Everything's lower.
To where now that is like good. I say, oh no, that was great. And I've seen people say like, this is the greatest, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you guys crazy? Like, oh my God, you need to watch more movies or read more books, or I can't
open
even like,
your eyes, you know, just anything.
Yeah.
What people are praising now, we're all just like, what's wrong with you? You're
well, there's also the mindset, you know, of the consumers are the great unwashed masses, and individualism is the enemy.
Yeah.
You don't want a guy who stands head and shoulders above the rest. You don't want a guy who's going to lead a revolution.
Rollerball. 19 cent, whatever your rollerball. That's the rollerball movie. That's the whole thing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and those were the things we grew up on that we loved. You know, it's the guy who stands out and stands above and makes a change. You know, he changes the course of history, or he changes his culture, he changes his city, his timeline, his world. And you know, that, you know, they don't want to see individuals imbued with that power.
That's
exactly it. I don't think they can write it. Like if you go back with George Lucas and Star Wars, we always talk about Star Wars. It's like, well, it's like, what did he watch? He watched Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. He watched these pulps. He liked these pulp serial characters. And then he liked Kurosawa films, who's an amazing director, and I own, you know, so many of his. And he's like, hey, maybe we can mesh these up around a little bit and do something and whatever. And then that's what it is. And then now it's gotten to the point where, like, it's not even just for money. It is for money, but like, they don't know what to do. They're thinking, well, we've got this core audience, just to use Star Wars because it's easy to use. Everybody knows it. We've got this core audience of Star Wars, and we just paid $4 billion or whatever it was. Now we need to expand that. Okay, let's ask this target audience, which was never. So our audience A, Star Wars. Audience B, what would you like to see out of Star Wars? Well, I don't know. There isn't enough, you know, strong females in it. It's like, even though Princess Leia is the leader of the rebellion and like the strongest person out of all of them from the beginning. Anyway, so we need more. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put Rey in it. She's going to be great. And there you go. It's like, okay, are you going to buy toys, get tattoos, get posters, t-shirts? You going to buy the soundtrack? Are you going to fill your shelves with Star Wars crap? Right? It's like, no. Oh, how come? It's like, well, we don't really do that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, but what else can we do? Well, there should be more diversity in it, right? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to add this character and this character, and it's going to be an Asian guy. There's going to be a black guy. There's going to be, it's like, okay, are you going to do all this? It's like, no, we're not going to do that. And then you got the Star Wars, the A group going, these characters are all boring. Like, what happened? Like, you didn't do any, it's like, you didn't do much with these characters. You just inserted them as placeholders for storytelling, and they're not that exciting. And we don't feel like buying the toys, and we don't feel like buying the shirts and stuff. And it's like, and they're like, well, you know, audience A, you guys are just trash and you guys suck. It's like, audience B and C are never going to buy your novels, get comics, get tattoos. They're not going to be Boba Fett tattoos.
Half of them don't even watch the movie after they're asked what they want to see. Right. All they do is they just hit a like button and say, wow, this is great, progressive. But it doesn't translate to business. You have to feed. There's people that fed Star Wars, that expanded universe of books and video games and all this. This like kept Star Wars alive. Yes.
Like, I mean, after the movies, you got a couple of Ewok movies, and that's it. And you know, the droids cartoons, sure, whatever. But like, it's like you really just had those books and games, and people like ate them up. It's like, I'll take anything Star Wars.
Shadows of the Empire popped. It was almost like the Empire movie had come out. And it had that out of movie.
Part of the problem with the diverse characters is that they can't be interesting or imperfect. Like, if they're like nasty people or truly bad guys or whatever, it's like, no, we're showing them in the wrong light. You know,
right? They're not interesting. Like, they don't become interesting.
Like in the Star Wars sequels, suddenly there's like all these diverse people as members of the Empire, and I was like, wasn't the whole point to show that they're like these sort of like Aryan Nazi kind of guys?
Yeah, that is the point. It's like, right. And then the other thing is
British accents, like white people.
I'll say this, then we're gonna close. We're gonna wind it down. Like, if you look at, like, I think it was Batwoman, the TV show, which is terrible, but it had, but it became so diverse that it became offensive. Listen to this. Okay, so everybody in it is is a minority or different, different like, different persuasion, all of the stuff, right? And they all live in Gotham City, which is the worst city to live in, and it's crime infested and awful, and everyone hates it there, but it's filled with diversity. So you're like, so it's like, I'm sorry, are you saying that a place filled with diverse characters from this community is a bad place to live? No, well, that is what you're saying, because Gotham City is a terrible place. So you actually made it offensive, right? Like they made it so diverse that it's become offensive.
Yeah, well, I mean,
inadvertently. It's like, so you're telling me if all these people are, they accidentally made it bad.
Here's the thing too, is like that diversity, there's always only one or maybe two of everything. But like around here, Scott, if I want to see a bunch of Mexicans, I'll go to El Monte and it'll be like a bunch of Mexicans and maybe a couple of Asian guys. And if I go to Monterey Park, it's going to be a bunch of Asians and maybe a couple of Mexican guys. And if I go to, Altadena, there'll be enclaves of black people living there. And so it's kind of like, there's not one of everything everywhere you go. If I go to Fairfax, that's where the Jews live. So,
we have mostly, I've got a lot of mostly brown skin here. The entire build, most of the building is, and it's like, but again, it's like, that's just this region or whatever, and nobody looks down or is bad, whatever. That's a whole different thing. But the point is that it doesn't even matter what it is. It just says target. There's audience A, which you already have. They want audience B. They want audience C. Audience B and C are never gonna hardcore go for it. They're just not going. My mom doesn't like Star Trek. My grandmother didn't like Star Trek. My grandfather didn't really care about Star Trek. My aunt liked it. That's it. I like it. The rest of the family, my cousin, her daughter, my aunt's daughter, my aunt likes Star Trek. My cousin doesn't like it. Doesn't like Lord of the Rings, fantasy. She's like, oh, is there hobbits or something in this movie? I'm like, and she's like, no, I'm not watching it. I'm like, well, I was like, hobbits is really like there's halflings, but it's like, well, no, it's like little people with this. Like, I'm not watching it. She doesn't like it. She likes horror movies. Right. And it's like, okay, well, they're fantasy. Really, horror movies are fantasy. The Cenobites are just demons, right? Or any of these, but whatever. She doesn't like it. You're not going to get her on board. And she liked Star Trek Beyond, my cousin. She's like, hey, I saw Star Trek Beyond. I thought that was really good. And I'm not a Star Trek person. I'm like, right. Therefore, it's shit. Yeah, it's like, you should have not liked it. The fact that you did like it has triggered to me telling me that, oh, this is probably a trash movie, just like the other two trash movies that came before it. Guess what? Spoiler alert, it's trash. It's like, and she's like, well, I liked it. I'm like, right. And then, okay. And then I said to her, now that you liked Star Trek Beyond, did you go watch the original series with Kirk? Are you going to watch Next Gen? You're going to watch Voyager? No, you're not going to do it. Did you buy Star Trek posters? Did you buy the soundtrack? I got the Making of Star Trek motion picture book. Pre-ordered that when that came out. Are you going to go meet? I got Catherine Janeway's. I got her autograph. We got Kirk's autograph. It's like, are you going to go get autographs? No. So who cares? You like Star Trek Beyond? It means nothing. You watch Star Trek Beyond. You thought it was good. You're never going to watch it again. You're never going to buy it on Blu-ray. You're not going to get the extended cut. You're not going to go to to meet the people in the movie. You don't care about it. So what was the point of making that movie for the few people that thought, oh, that was pretty good, and then they move on with their lives and never care? Meanwhile, you got people with Star Trek tattoos and literally people who like getting their ears medically pointed and crap like that to be like Spock. It's like, you're never getting those guys. Like, anyway. All right. Steve, what do you got going on?
I'm still doing my Friday the 13th retrospective, so I got to make my way through all 12 of the Friday.
I could just do it right now because I've seen each one about 500 times. So,
I've done part 2. So moving on to 3D, hopefully soon.
I love Ginny. I met Ginny. She's awesome. Amy Steele, she's awesome. Dresses up like Jason's mom to trick him. That was so good. Smart.
The most creative way to beat that.
She is the best. She is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, put that in your thing. She outsmarted Jason.
Oh yeah,
not that it's not difficult. But anyways.
I said it's most creative, preposterous, but creative way
for to do it. Charlie, what's going on in the podcast, man? You got
well, we got month of Anna, our newest co-host. We gave her a month, and she's bringing Tuesday. It's called Ready or Not from 2019.
Yeah,
a few times.
Kind of a dark horror. But the big one that's coming out is next Saturday. We recorded an episode
on this. God. Wow, what a coincidence.
Last week, and then he passed away. So I'm going to record something in the beginning of a bit of a tribute to him. But it blew my mind when that came across the news the other day that he had passed. And we literally just covered Equalizer 2000 over on B Action, which is the same exact podcast that J-Man shares. It's just a second show over there on that. So Ready or Not and Equalizer 2000 comes out.
All right. And Sean's channel. All of these people's links are in all my videos. I've just added them to all my videos, but I'm just putting them in the chat for ease if you're in the chat, but it's in the description of this video anyway. Ross, what do you got going on?
I've seen copies of your Going for Crazy Money on eBay. That's totally unnecessary. You can get them directly from Antarctic Press. I think they're all still available. And the Luna Diamond Midas Star, if you like the Hercules movies by Luigi Cozzi, and if you like the Star Crash movie by Luigi Cozzi, he's got a new screenplay co-written by me on Amazon, and whatever country you're in, you can get it for, you don't have to pay for crazy shipping because it's available all over the world.
I do have that as well.
You don't have to pay any shipping if you got Prime or if you order
I didn't have to pay shipping.
The minimum. So I think that's it as far as my shilling goes. And as far as that podcast you put up, I'll find another link for me because that's really not for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So send me the link that you want.
One of our guys is a little political, and that's really, it's fine for people who've followed us for a long time. We're used to it, but like new listeners might be a little.
All right. So that's okay. So that's the podcast. That's their 2000 AD podcast. So send me a link that you want me to use. Scott, I got your link up. You have anything going on?
Thank you. Tarzan on Film is still selling, still on Amazon. Still, this is the book that covers all of the licensed, authorized Tarzan films and TV series. Tarzan the Centennial Celebration out of print, but you can get it aftermarket. I'm still getting reviews. I had 2 reviews, I think it was last month, from people who bought it in a used bookstore and went on and so love that. But I got some other thing that I'm not ready to announce yet. Got a couple of irons in the fire, so looking forward to that. Cool.
All right, so Sean's channel, everybody knows Sean. He's been posting reviews lately, comics. He just posted the old book and paper show walk through and stuff that he got. He bought me a couple of gifts there. He hasn't told me what they are though, so I'm looking forward to seeing what those are. So check that out, guys. Tomorrow, Legion live stream, second last episode, and then Action Elite, we're going to be talking about GoldenEye, 30 years of GoldenEye, and then next Sunday, 40 years of He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. I'm going to try not to cry on that one, but like.
I have never seen that before. I'm doing it as a friendship.
Well, if you don't say it's 10 out of 10, I'm going to be very upset. Well, you haven't seen me very upset, right?
What's everyone's round table like star rating of?
No. We're not doing it now. Well, we're saving it. Steven's never seen it, I bet, right?
No. I'm talking about Doc Savage.
Oh, Doc Savage the movie. Oh, Doc Savage the movie. Yeah. Oh gosh, like a real rating. Okay, Steve, do your real rating. Let me think.
However you want to do it. However you want to do it.
My rating 4 out of 5 on the poll.
All right, Charlie.
Yep.
Is it out of 5?
Well, however you do it.
Well, I mean, if we're doing it out of 5, this would be like a 3 out of 5. Yeah,
all right.
It was fun, but it could have been better.
Right. Ross.
So on IMDb, it's got like something like a 5-point-something rating, and 50-something-year-old me says like, yeah, that's probably about right. But 7 or 8 or 9-year-old me and 58-year-old me says 10 out of 10.
All right. Scott, what's your rating?
I give it a 4 out of 5 with the caveat: watch it with your kids or share it with your kids, or as Doc Ross said, as a child, I was right there with it.
Or other middle-aged guys who loved it.
that aren't British apparently. So
Yeah.
I on my space rating system, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10.
Nice.
On my just talking to me for fun, it's 10 out of 10 because Doc Savage is the best and he beats up the bad guys and he does an awesome speech. That's it. What else do you want out of your superhero? The guy does an awesome speech and beats the crap out of bad guys and isn't an idiot. I don't understand. Serious will be awesome. Yes. Oh, you will believe a man can cry. Yeah, you might. I'm going to try my best. But that For the Honor, I've listened to that song 4 million times. I love that entire song. I'm listening to it right after this stream. I'm going to listen to it. And Tuesday night,
Nero and
the girl from Friday from Nightmare 4 Tuesday night who plays what? Oh, Cameron, is it Christy? No, what was her name? Kirsten. She does her and this guy do a duet for that song. I'll send it to you, Charlie. It's awesome.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. All right, guys, we'll see you hopefully tomorrow for Legion, man. Looking forward to that. It's gonna be, and the Superboy issues are sick tomorrow, so make sure you're there. All right, thanks everybody. Until next time.
Hey friends, you've just been listening to J-Man, and he is the smartest person who ever lived. So make sure you like and subscribe.